No Mount Gassy upon the car park. Kim at the Frog sucking my dick. Doing a line of coke off No Mount Gassy upon the car park.
It's a weird Sesame Street.
Kim at the
Coming
Frog
back.
sucking my dick.
All right, we're there.
All right, here we go.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Pack.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it? Whether we're young or old.
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greek Factory Podcast. Nathan,
This is Conlon.
No Mount Gassy upon.
I think I might have lost you there.
Andrew, yeah.
Oh, okay. Here
Let me
we
say it
are.
in my native tongue.
Speaking your
Before I
foreign
lose it.
language.
Yeah.
So here we are again.
Yep.
See, so who wants to explain to our listeners?
So we're gonna spend
Why
the
not?
first. We're gonna spend the first part of the show playing a sort of like cooperative role playing game called Anomaly.
Okay.
Essentially, it's like Ghostbusters or X-Files. We build a team of people. We pick the anomaly and a location, and then we kind of like go through turns and have different things happen. It's more like a collective writing room, like we're trying to make a like a TV show, and like this is the bullshit we come up with. So
Oh, okay. So this is instead of throwing stuff at a dartboard with papers on it.
Let's play out the scene.
Yeah. Okay.
oh, we can still do that.
They've made billions doing that in Hollywood.
All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to pick an organization. So who do we want investigating the anomaly?
OSHA.
Oh shit.
Make sure it's safe or not for the American people. We gotta make sure.
Can it be a government organization?
Yeah, it can be anything if you want. You can make up your own organization.
Oh, okay.
Because like the fictional organization I came up with of the fiction I haven't written is the XBI.
Okay.
But we don't have to use that.
Thought it'd be a private, self-funded group.
All right. Do you want it to be?
Yeah, the Forlorn Paranormal Investigators, something like that, or the Mystic Society.
Okay. So we have OSHA, the Mystic Society, and the XBI. Do you want to pick one, or should we have a combination of these?
Let's say it'd be a three-way investigation.
OSHA starts it, and then it gets handed off to these other groups.
Well, no, it's just like every other government thing. It's a pissing contest, so they're all trying to be in line to be the head organization.
Well, here we have Mystic Society is outside the government. It's a privately funded
Oh, okay.
anomalous organization.
Yeah, basically a bunch of weirdos.
Do you want it called the Mystic Society, or do you want to have another name for it?
We can have that name or another name.
Okay, that's fine.
We're just spitballing here. We can change it.
Okay, what do you want the anomaly to be?
That's a good one. Did we start randomizing things now?
Well, if we're gonna start with OSHA, like, do you want to have like, and we're the American Greed Factory? Should we have a factory being haunted by some sort of anomaly?
Yeah, we could do that.
Alright.
And then we could have.
What should we have it be doing? Like, what should be going on? Should people be dying, or should just weird shit be happening? Like some the every day they come in there, like the place has been completely like rearranged, or like the building like morphs into something different every day.
Let's have weird occurrences, but not like grandiose ones.
Okay.
Something more in line with like stuff that went on in like what was that movie, like Primer? Where the guy brings the stuff in. It's like this mold. It takes years for it to grow.
And the place. Where should this be taking place?
Rust Belt.
Rust Belt?
Yeah, we're
Just-
familiar with that.
Just generally, or just like Pennsylvania or something?
Eh,
That's the Rust Belt, right? It's
yeah,
Pennsylvania,
yeah,
Ohio,
Pennsylvania's
and.
also, yeah. How about Gary, Indiana?
Is that the Rust Belt?
Indiana's in the Rust Belt, yeah.
All right, I figure. I go with the obvious Erie, Indiana, which was a TV show, a haunted TV show that takes place in Indiana.
Call it Factoryville.
Factoryville, Indiana.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Manufacturing your dreams is the town's the town tag.
Do we want to pick a time period, like just now?
Yeah, let's just
Yeah,
keep
modern
it now.
day.
So we don't have to use like rotary phones and stuff.
Or should we make it the 90s so when I say Nomar Garcia Parry, if I say it, it seems commonplace and normal.
Or is your character like lost out of time? All right.
When do you want me to hit the start clock?
Whenever you feel good. Whenever you just want to, let's get this over with.
Okay, the town's name was what again? Sorry.
Factoryville, Indiana. How big do we want this town to be?
3,500 people.
How big's this factory? Is it a small factory, or is this like the only thing in town?
Only thing in town.
Okay. So this is mostly rural area?
Yeah.
So people like don't live in the in the city, or they live on the outsides of the city or something?
Yeah, people don't live in the city very much. There are people that live there.
Would you say it's easygoing?
I mean, what did you say what did we agree the population?
3,500 is what you said.
3,500. Yeah.
So it's mostly a commuter factory. Maybe. Would you say this factory relies heavily upon machines, or is it mostly the workers doing the work? On
Is it
lines?
mostly automated or not?
Yeah. Is it automated or?
What do they make?
Or here, could this be the anomaly? The factory's not automated, but the machines are haunted and they act on their own accord and build things.
Oh, we could do that.
Automated haunted factory. Like, to the outside observer, it's just an automated factory. But like somebody on the inside, it's a secret that it's just dead people inside the machines.
Something like the cheapest form of labor, the dead.
I have to go to the game. It's only like a 13-page
Yeah, it's not.
game, so it's.
I knew it was 13 pages.
But I've never run the game before, so we'll see what happens. All right.
So I guess, how does the scenario start?
We just have to have like something happen. So.
Yeah, okay.
So that causes an investigation. So here, if we have OSHA, so it has to have an accident has to happen, and so we have to. Is this when we introduce our OSHA, our Bostonian OSHA compliance
We're
guy?
going to Indiana for some reason. Apparently, Indiana doesn't have its own OSHA employees.
Yeah. It's a
man running the machinery was caught in it and mauled. And so they called in to investigate because the machinery shouldn't have acted on its own accord. So that's how you get the anomaly, and that's how you get all the other stuff going, right?
Yeah.
I would assume. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna start with a OSHA investigation. So with what's his name?
Oh, my character's name?
Yes.
Oh, fuck. Hal Simpson.
Hal Simpson.
Like, trying to think of a Boston name, and I don't fucking know.
Hey, he's just from Boston.
Should have named him Hal Garcia Parras. So at least he can say Garcia Parras all the time.
Who should we have him talking to?
The foreman of the plant.
Okay, who's the foreman?
Stan Everwood.
Foreman.
Yes.
What'd you say, Stan what?
Everwood.
Stan Everwood. Who should we, so he's dead now, but who got mauled?
Pete Davidson.
Wait, who's Pete Davidson?
Comedian from Stefan.
Okay.
I picked that name in my head and I laughed because I was like, oh yeah, that's an actual real person. That's famous.
I mean, these probably are all real people, even if we're just making
Well, yeah,
up
they're all
shitty.
I'm sure there's a Stan
name.
Everwood and a Hal Simpson somewhere.
All right, let's. How should we do this? All right, so now we're gonna pick. I guess this is what foisting is upon you. We'll have Andrew go first. I'll go second, and then Nathan will go third. So what do we do? So. Trying to figure out. So we have Pete Davidson gets mauled by a machine. Hal Simpson shows up to talk to Stan Everwood. So what do they say to each other? So as Nathan, you play Stan.
Okay.
Just to make up a quick conversation of what Stan and Hal are talking to.
All right.
Alright, so we're just gonna go through basically.
Yeah, I just want a quick scene of what happens when they first meet.
Holy no, my Garcia Pie in a car park. I can't believe the mess that's in here. Look at this guy all over the floor. What happened here? Who's the foreman?
Oh, that'd be me, sir. I'm Stan.
What kind of shit show are you running in here, sir?
Well, as you can see, this is actually fully modern equipment with all the safety, all the OSHA compliant safety equipment's in place. He went in to change a drill head, and the machine started of its own accord. Even though, if you look at the logs and everything, you can see that there was it was in full stop mode, locked out, and everything was properly observed. We don't know what happened.
Well, you better get your goddamn shit in order here. I don't know what kind of OSHA branch is running Indiana, but it sure fucking ain't what I know of.
Okay, that's good. All right, so we're gonna have. Oh shit, I'm going to the wrong thing. So we are. We're gonna take. You're gonna take your first turn, Andrew. You. Okay, we're gonna have the pick a card. We have the 7 of stabs.
I have no idea what kind of cards are in a tarot deck.
Wands, 7 of wands.
Oh.
7 of wands.
Okay, so either a breakthrough is made, greatly advancing research. What great cost did this breakthrough come at? Or the team decides to forego a promising experiment due to ethical concerns. Who within the team argues for this or against it? So maybe we should set up the team. Well, so do you want to have more guys or just you on your own as OSHA?
OSHA only needs one guy to ruin the party. Like, I would say a team could be the foreman and him together since they're trying to both correct the problem.
Yeah.
But
And then. Okay, so do you? Let's see here. Taking after. So what project are you doing? Like, what are you gonna start doing there?
gonna project of breaking down the machine to figure out where the fan came from.
So you're taking apart the machine. We'll see how many turns will it take to take apart the machine. 4. This'll take forever.
Well, it's tireless work. I don't know.
Here, we'll use the 3-sided dice. 3.
Not much better.
I mean, we can fudge these if we want. But...
Oh, look, the bolt's sheared off. It came apart in one turn.
All right, so okay, so what's the so 7 of wands? Okay, so you're taking apart the machine, and shit. What are the? Oh, God damn it, I'm missing it. What's the option state? Do you have it? Okay, I got it. So how does the team? Nope. 7. Right?
Breakthrough is made, greatly advancing research.
Or for ethical reasons, you don't do it.
What
Yeah.
cost does this research come at?
And what's the other side?
The other side is the team decides to forego a promising experiment due to ethical concerns. Who is against this within the team and who's for it?
I say we go with it. Hal Simpson's going to stick his arm in that machine once they disconnect the power and take everything offline. It's going to cut his arm off. And that's how they know it's haunted.
Or
Oh my God.
there is an alternative.
Okay.
You take the machine apart in 3 turns and find out something strange at the end of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So we're gonna act that out.
Yep. Sure.
Well, I mean, that's still an ongoing project. So right now, this machine's being taken apart, so we can move on to. I guess it's my turn. So who should I be? Or should I also be? Should I also be Hal with a Bostonian accent, taking shit apart? Let's see here. What should I be? I guess I'll. Nah, I guess the XBI wouldn't know about it. Would the Mystic Society know about it?
Well, they would after the machine was taken apart, at least in my thinking.
But like, would they have any inkling that maybe this place is a hot spot beforehand?
No.
Like they're not keeping this in their purview.
No, this is going to be kind of like what was that show Millennium, where there's different groups and
Okay.
things pop up, it triggers.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just throwing shit at the wall here.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I think you could be the Rastafarian press operator that saw it all.
Well, I doubt this would cross the XBI's. This wouldn't cross the XBI threshold until like something publicly weird happened, or they'd be contacted by somebody. So
Yeah.
I don't think we have somebody. Or should we have a whistleblower on the inside that's curious about things?
Well, we could.
Fran Drescher works there. And
Or
she
should we?
was-
In Factoryville, Indiana, that what they're not going to want to do is rock the boat, being they're one of the last ones that have the factory. So,
Would there be a disgruntled, recently fired worker?
well, there could always be those.
Or are they always fed into the machines?
Things that's made it to report to an OSHA reportable. I doubt human sacrifice. Part of it. Why they don't have?
You can be the guy at the bar downtown spewing all the factory stories while he's drunk. Some journalist that's not there to I don't know eat lunch or some shit, and that's how it gets reported publicly.
Do you want me to be the drunk guy or like a local
The
journalist?
drunk guy.
Okay.
And then one of us can be the journalist. Because you can be the disgruntled ex-employee. We're like, oh, people down the planet just feeding people into those machines left and right.
They're feeding people to the machines, officer.
That's the urinal, Tom.
Open up, officer.
Is this public urination? Like, I don't know. Okay.
His mouth won't close. It's destroying my mind.
I dream about it.
Okay.
This is worse than when the factory eats people.
At least then you still have your soul.
You can tell this officer has no soul because he won't stop drinking my pee.
Okay. So what's this drunk character's name?
Calvin Hobbes.
Okay. What's the journalist's name?
Is the journalist just in the bathroom?
Sure.
Is the journalist real?
You're next journalist after I get done peeing in the officer's mouth.
The journalist is the toilet. No, it's not.
This is a commentary on the Fourth Estate.
We'll have a we'll have the let's see here, news guy Vincent. It's a British name.
Stimpson.
Simpson and Stimpson. All right,
Stims.
no relation. I don't know where he comes from. But we'll, so yeah, so Vincent just thinks he's crazy, but decides he's going to look into it because he's
It's a
in
slow
the piss
news
out
day.
small town for some reason. I imagine he has to be from an news organization from a bigger town, and he's here for other reasons, and he just hears this shit.
He's reporting on the opioid crisis.
He's here for Dollar Wing Wednesdays.
Okay. So Factoryville is terrorized with opioid crisis.
Oh yeah. Parents are barricaded into the bathrooms because their kids are going for their back pain medicine. The new American dream.
All right, so I guess I have to draw a card. Oh, I have to discard the cards. I forgot about that. I have the King of Wands.
Wands, I just had that. An organization sends another team who hide key information from the existing researchers. Who hide key information from the existing researchers. What have they found, and why don't they want the others to know? And on the flip side, the team hides a key finding from the organization. What information is too dangerous for the organization to know? Who is unhappy about keeping this secret? So it does kind of work.
I'm gonna make like this, like the factory owners like have like an inside guy or have like a body guy that just does shit for them.
Oh, like a fixer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's coming in to try to like.
Shut up the drunk.
No, like. He more be. I think he'd leave the drunk alone because I think people already don't believe him.
Oh, but get the reporters and stuff.
But he's trying to throw off OSHA guy. He's trying to throw off Hal.
Oh.
So we'll make it.
It's like, oh shit, is that Nomar Garcia Pyro?
The body guy is Nomar Garcia Parra. How do you spell that?
Yeah, spell that.
G-A-R.
Wait, what? No, it was Nomar.
Oh,
Nomar?
Nomar. N-O-M-A-R.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was like, that start with a G? God damn it.
G-A-R.
G-
I-C-A-P-A.
Garcia.
Garcia. Okay, P-A-R-A.
Just put
sorry.
Garcia and then Parra at the end. I think
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So.
I wouldn't say that's probably the correct spelling, but that's in my brain.
Yeah, we'll say it right. So Fixer is Nomar Garcia Parra.
Yeah.
No relation or just actual Nomar Garcia Parra?
No relation. Just
Okay.
he's been tortured with us all his life. It's like, I'm not fucking Nomar Garcia Parra.
I went to Factoryville, Indiana, and I still gotta hear fucking people from Boston say my fucking name. So yeah, he just goes in and is keeping whatever would give away that the machine is
Haunted.
it has the soul of a person in it, which I don't think the OSHA guy would find, but he removes whatever spooky crystal from the machine during the teardown process. All right. And then, oh yeah, I'm kind of figuring out how to play this game. Do I want to set up I don't think I'm going to set up a project right now. But that does reduce teardown to 2 turns. So Nathan, it is now your turn.
Okay.
Let's see what we got. Okay, so we're gonna draw a card. Draw a card for Nathan. Got the Six of Wands. I didn't mix these up. They've all been wands. Well, you picked from the top to twice, and then I just picked in the middle once. It just happened to be wands.
Six of Wands.
Yes.
What is the most enjoyable part of researching the anomaly? On the flip side, what is the most unpleasant part for researching the anomaly?
So right now, the only person researching it is Hal.
So I guess he really loves taking apart machines.
Okay. Well, Nathan, this is your opportunity to form the narrative. So you like, if you want, you can be whatever you want. So he just likes taking shit apart.
Well, yeah, I was gonna have it be like they take the machine apart. They don't find anything weird because it's just basically essentially your modern 21st century, manufacturing machine. The only thing they do find that's weird is when they tried to contact the people that built it for the plant. The company can't be found anymore. There's just a warehouse in Illinois where spare parts come from. One clerk there that sends them, only to Factoryville, Indiana. So the people, whoever designed and built this machinery, the company doesn't exist anymore.
What should the company name be?
Demon Core.
Founded when?
1914.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just resolve the machine takedown. We'll just say it's taken apart now.
Yeah.
And then, so do you want Hal's arm to be missing now?
Well, I mean, I thought that was a good way to, like, get across the point that something's wrong or whatever and get other people involved. So, I mean, unless somebody else has another idea with how to make
let's make it, like, more obvious that something weird's like, should his arm be glowing after it's been cut off?
No, what it should do is be vibrating. Like it's phasing in and out of
his now loose arm.
Yes. And it's not bleeding or showing any signs of lividity or death.
And so is Hal okay? Or is he dead?
No, his arm's missing.
Okay.
And he's just told
Is he bleeding? Or
yeah.
is he also not bleeding?
No, he's reacting normally.
Okay.
It's just the severed arm, which he was given other arm from a car accident victim to bury, which they often do.
Can we have like when his arm gets cut off, there's like a pin on the ground, and now his hand is just like twirling the pin into the hand.
We could do that.
Okay.
Which arm, by the way, right or left?
Say he's a righty, so right arm gets cut off.
Oh man, jerking off is going to be harder now.
At the
well, I mean, if the arm that didn't inconvenience him and he got cut off wouldn't be much of a story.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, what?
Where did elbow, arm, or shoulder? Shoulder. Okay.
Shoulder. Go the whole way. He had to really reach in there to the guts of the machine. It's almost like his arm got taken to another dimension somehow.
Somehow, Calvin hears about this. I don't have anything funny for him to say about a missing arm that's vibrating. Other than be like, I'm vibrating from that one song. Aisha, I'm vibrating.
Have Iggy Pop narrate the story.
That guy got his fucking arm cut off from Moosh. Alright, so it is now Andrew's turn.
Okay.
I guess we'll have you pick a card.
No. Maybe this time I shouldn't pick from the top. There you go, that card. It'll still be a wand.
Yes, it is. The Four of Wands.
Jesus Christ.
We have only picked wands.
A report comes in from the organization, heavily redacted. What do they not want the team to know? On the flip side, a report comes in from the organization bearing bad news. What about the information terrifies the team?
The arm missing and vibrating, twirling a pin.
Yeah.
Okay.
The arm phasing in and out of our temporal.
All right. At this point, so we should probably start another project, or at least bring in one of the other organizations. Would you like to bring in the Mystic Society or the XBI?
Mystic Society.
All right.
All right.
Because only Mystic Society would care about an arm phasing in and out. I think the XBI would give two shits about it.
Yeah, maybe the XBI doesn't get hold of it because nobody would actually like write that in a report and send it somewhere. Like we said, it's been redacted, so it's just an OSHA report about like arm missing and redacted.
No one cares about OSHA employees. Oh, good, another one died.
All right, so I guess we should we have a group of people show up from the Mystic Society?
Yeah, I mean, what? Like, how many people would show up, Nathan? Like 2 people?
3.
3.
Okay.
Do they look peculiar in any way, or are they just normally dressed?
Oh, they're peculiar people. One of them's kind of buttoned down. Is an expert in what do they call that? Pseudoscience. No, not pseudoscience.
I was like, which one?
No, but many.
I know meteorology. You know.
Like paranormal. What's that? Parapsychology or something.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those will be that kind of guy. And then the one girl will be like a witch or someone,
A Wiccan.
someone who can sense evil. You know, witch girl.
Yeah.
Oh, a stay-at-home mom psychic. Okay.
No, this is someone with like a low-grade drug addictions and doesn't really form good relationships.
So she's gonna have a problem in Factoryville where there's opioid crisis.
Yeah, this is gonna be her character arc. The story will begin and end here for her, maybe. Then who's the third? They always got the guy that runs the camera and has all the strange equipment, like they're going to use stud detectors to determine the presence of. You know.
He's like their Egon, the equipment guy.
Yeah.
Is he also weird, or is he like the one where like he just brings in the technology and knows how to use it, and he doesn't believe in any of this shit?
He's going through community college.
Okay.
He gets money to run because he's like a guy who can run cameras for. Oh, we should ask Matt about this. You know, a guy like Matt. He's just making some spare money for college.
All right, let's come up with names for these people. You come up with the main guy. I'll come up with the girl, and you come up with the camera guy.
Okay.
The parapsychologist will be Jeff Thurwell.
Said Jeff Orwell?
Thurwell.
Thurwell.
Thurwell, sorry.
The Wiccan will be Sandra Fisk.
Sandra Fist.
Fisk.
Oh, Fisk.
Okay.
And the AV guy will be Randy Jenkins.
So I guess it's. Oh yeah. So did you want to set up a project for them? They're just like are they just going to look at the machine, or what are they looking at?
They're just. I'm gonna assume they're just gonna like kind of go through the whole factory, including the machine, and try and like talk to people.
Are they gonna talk to anybody, or are they just do this clandestinely?
Is this okay? Is this a 24-hour factory, or is this a first shift factory, Monday through Friday type of deal?
Well, it's automated, so it's 24 hours,
Okay.
right?
I would
Yeah.
assume so.
Okay.
So
I mean, how many employees does the factory have?
Should have a mysterious amount or like a cool amount? Should be like 420 or 69.
Let's have it be somewhat
666 employees.
always that number.
No, is that down from previous when we killed off the one guy?
No, it's exactly 666 now because they hired a new person. So every time they hire a new person,
Okay.
one dies. It's like, we always have 600 people here. Why?
Okay, and so they're just
Yeah, they're trying to stay kind of covert at the edges somewhat, but they're mostly just talking to people when they break off from the pack or when they leave work. But they're trying to just low-key investigate.
Okay.
Well, Jeff could do like town research in the library because that's what he likes to do.
okay.
And then Sandra and Randy could like go to taverns and restaurants because she kind of has a need about her that some people might find appealing in that town. They can come up with a lot of different information.
This is where they found Calvin just talking about weird shit going on at the
Filling
plant.
up an
Yeah.
officer's mouth.
I don't talk to the cop's mouth is full.
That way he can't say nothing.
All right, arrest me, officer.
Pathetic. This is the most pathetic drunk character I've imagined in a while.
He hasn't even talked to the people. He only talks to the urinal, and he gives out the information regardless. Which means why Sandra's in there to get it.
She's in there.
Or maybe he's just in the women's room and he's just doing that to a toilet.
Well, it's just a unisex bathroom.
Okay.
Or maybe she just told nonchalantly by the bartenders, like, "You want to hear some shit? Go talk to him in the bathroom."
All right, so the investigation will be one turn. All right, so
They found out everything they need to know from the guy.
should we make it longer,
Eh,
or is that fine?
How long does a turn represent?
Each time one of us goes is one turn.
Oh, okay.
So like this will be wrapped up by the end of my turn.
Oh, okay.
All right, I guess it's my turn now. See if we don't get a
don't
wand.
draw a wand.
Yay, no wands. We have a 10 of swords. Tarot cards are weird.
It looked like a wand to me. Huh?
The wands are sticks and
Oh.
that's swords.
All right, Ten of Swords. A conflict amongst the team leads to bloodshed. Who is injured? Who is bitter about the resolution? A conflict among the team leads to division. What are the sides in the conflict? And what problems does this failure in cooperation cause?
Well, is
I
Sandra...
think we're gonna. I think we should just have Randy, the camera guy, and Calvin get into fisticuffs because he's peeing on his equipment.
That'd work.
I love that. It's ironic that Calvin only communicates through pee.
Yeah, there's a lot
Fuck
of
your
pee play.
documentary.
A lot of pee play going on here.
You know, because the Calvin, pissing on like all different logos and stuff.
And then Randy's like, "Dude, that was my mom's camcorder." It's like, I was supposed to do my nephew's recital this weekend, you son of a bitch. Like,
So, how should this just a fist fight, or should somebody get stabbed?
Let's not start stabbing yet.
Alright. So we'll just have
Stabbing leads to police, and not the kind that you can pee on.
or in.
Or in.
all right. So I have just Calvin gets a bloody nose.
Yeah.
It just requires bloodshed, right? Nobody has to die.
Yeah, it just says bloodshed.
Okay. Yeah. So.
'Cause it specifically says right after who is injured, so.
Oh yeah. So Calvin's injured, and Randy's mostly fine, other than his fist hurts.
Yeah.
He's gonna get that piss out of the camcorders for a week.
So is Calvin now a broken link, or will he just remember not to urinate on
He's sobering up now, so
Okay.
maybe he says something that's more believable. Or he's saying the same things now, but now he just seems more believable because now he has a shot of adrenaline in his system from being punched in the face. It's like, no, his arm got cut off and it was just jerking around.
He's like, I'm close to the truth. Somebody got mad.
There was this guy screaming about Nomar Garcia Parra. When did you guess? There's a dude named Nomar Garcia Parra. He's always like, he's wearing glasses and he's fucking huge. And like, I don't know what he's doing. He has this crystal in his hand. It's like, when did you get
That
fired?
he is.
Undetermined.
Like Middle Eastern Spaniard.
Should we start a project? All right, so they just finished up
The
investigation. So now they want to get into. So they're going to want to sneak into the factory at night when there's less people, or should there always be like a same amount of people for every shift?
No, less people.
All right, so night shift, less people.
Yeah.
So they are sneaking into the factory to investigate.
Now, who is the Mystic Society?
Yeah, the Mystic Society.
Okay.
And Nomar Garcia Parra's right arm. Or Hal Simpson's right arm.
Oh, so Nomar Garcia knows about them. He's like tailing them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's kind of the factory guy. He needs to know about everything. Or try and get in the middle of everything, too. So.
Well, should we like see if if something wrong goes in the turn of the cards, and then have him get on them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see why not.
It is Nathan's turn.
All right.
Pick a card for you. You have the Lovers.
All right.
It has 6 at the top, but I'm not sure if that corresponds to anything. It's just called the Lovers.
Let's see.
Has it not been 30 minutes yet?
We got about 2 more minutes.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I can't find where are the lovers. I got the Empress, the High Priestess, the Magician, the Fool, Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hidden Man, the Tower, Judgment, the World.
It should be at the top, like where the Fool is. It'd be a couple down below from the Fool, or like 6 below.
Oh, you're right. There it is. One of the members of the team betrays them to defend the anomaly. Why? What personal consequences does this have for the rest of the team?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that these kind of like higher end cards don't have an either or.
No, those are like your power cards.
So what, Xandra betrays the team for some crack?
Opioids. Yeah.
From opioids from the town.
Some Lorsad or something. Let me call my wife. What are people most addicted to now? Who gives her the drugs and what does he want in return? This is probably where the Garcia Parra guy comes in.
Well, I know my Garcia Parra just wants the ear on the inside. He wants to know what's going down, what's shaking.
It's Hal's still around narrating from the rafters. They didn't give me my fucking arm. What am I supposed to do? I'm not leaving this place till I get my fucking arm.
It's set on vibrate now. I want it.
He's phasing in and out of this temporal.
You know how many times I can ghost myself in a night with that arm?
How much of a workman's comp claim do I get for an arm that's still alive and now interdimensional? What's the long form on that claim?
He just blows his brains out because he can't figure out the math. The workman's comp claim. He's like, I don't know how much I should get. $65,000 or $30,000. I can't figure it out. Bam.
I'm not an insurance adjuster. I'm just from OSHA.
Somebody has pulled the next card, the scumbag lawyer who will determine the payout.
So wait, do we have a betrayal yet, or
I thought Sandra was going to betray the group for pills.
for drugs? Okay.
For sweet.
It's okay. So she's gonna sell out the team to Nomar. Okay.
Just like people in baseball, stealing signs.
Should we have more consequences, or she just lets them know that they're there?
Yeah, we'll just open with that
Okay.
because these guys are going to have to start coming together at some point.
Do you want to start any projects?
The
Hold on.
investigation
The
of the
timer's going off. I'm trying to shut it down.
Okay. All right, we'll end this on what a project if you wish, or we can just end it now.
Now let's figure out a project.
Because I was thinking, like, maybe, like, so they have to go to the hospital for Hal's arm. So maybe a report gets to the XBI, and that's when they start to investigate. So the XBI is just, like, they just got a guy at a computer coordinating things, and he's on a phone.
Oh, okay. And then the threads start to get tied together.
Yeah, so they also need to send a team to investigate. We'll say Tim Conway is on the phone. And how long will it take to investigate? One turn.
Apparently, taking apart a machine takes 3 times as long as investigating mysteries.
That's 4-sided dice. All right. Yes. All right. So yeah, take your final notes, and I will put these cards aside because you're not supposed to like redraw the cards. You're supposed to like kind of go through the deck or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I believe so. But yeah, so that was our first installment of Anomaly.
I was really disappointed nobody else had to do accents. I mean, I thought we were going to do a lot more speaking roles. Like,
Oh, we're figuring it out.
We're working our way into it.
yeah.
We're just doing a lot of script work now.
Well, like, yeah, because like a lot of,
Yeah.
I like that. It's like kind of like what I'd like to do is like when we set up these situations, just kind of like just like to give like sort of a flair to the situation. You just like pop in with a sentence and give an explanation, or not necessarily give an explanation, but give like a flavor to like the group or whatever that we create. So that's why I had Calvin pissing on a pretend cop. All right, so back to the normally scheduled American Greed Factory.
Yes. Well, how was Christmas? No, I'm just kidding.
Did you see Ford versus Ferrari yet?
No, I've not been able to go to the movies. Last 2 weekends I was going to, and then my wife's been sick the entire time, so have not been able to go to the movies. So.
I kind of wanted to re-talk about The Witcher because I figured like the first time we talked about it, I forgot like all the things I was going to talk about, and when I think about it, I'm still forgetting those things. But what's your take on The Witcher, Andrew?
Well, I thought it was a pretty well executed show, and I still don't. I think I explained that last time that I don't know why people are so pissed off about the 3 different timelines with the show and why it's so confusing to people, because apparently that was a thing online.
Well, if you don't know what's happening, like things seem disjointed because they actually
yeah,
are.
but they're seemingly contained and they explain themselves and it comes together, so I don't see the problem. It's not like a weird mystery where there's plot holes and a bunch of other stuff that.
Well, there's probably plot holes and mystery, but
Well, not anything readily,
Yeah.
On the surface.
it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do next season because you imagine that like, they're not going to do that.
No, it's all going to be congruent and it's all going to be in one timeline, I would think. But I mean, Henry Cavill even posted a video saying like production starts like this week or next week or
Yeah.
something like that. So, probably next or late this year it'll be another season maybe.
Well, I think on IMDb it's listed as 2021, which would sort of make sense because it came out at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So, like a year-long production, that would kind of make sense. Like maybe next January it comes out, but you never know.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's had really good effects and not all CGI. There's good practical effects in it too, which I was very. I mean, did it say what studio worked on practical effects, or did it? I guess I didn't watch the credits really to see if it was.
I don't think anybody big. It's probably like whatever in-house studios they use for Netflix shows.
I mean, it kind of goes around explaining like a little bit of the history of the world he's in, and kind of like setting up his backstory. And I don't think it does a bad job explaining a lot of things. And
Now, have you read any of the books or played the games?
I've only played Witcher 3, and I haven't read any of the books.
Okay.
Supposedly the books are far inferior to any of the games. So
Yeah, I kind of hear that, but
I mean, what are the books even called? The Witcher, or what are they called?
No, they have like titles, but I think the series is just called The Witcher or
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
something like that.
Because until the third one, I didn't get on the train of playing those games.
Yeah, I bought all of them, but I only really played the third one.
That sounds like pretty much the conclusion most people have. We bought every single one of them. We only played the third. Casting seemed to go really well, just based upon who was in the third game. Henry Cavill's a really good decision because he seems to be basically make that show.
he championed for that role. Like they didn't want him for
really?
that role. He went out and got that
Who the fuck
role.
did they want for the role?
I don't know. They looked at people before they got to him, but he had his agent every day calling them up.
Huh.
It's like, hey, I'm available.
Well, that really, I guess, goes to the fact that all the interviews with him saying like he's into Warhammer 40K and into PC gaming and into, because they asked him all these questions about like, oh, Battle of the Bastards or Battle for Winterfell, and he was like Helm's Deep or whatever. And so, I mean, he seems like a pretty nerdy guy. Not
Yeah.
saying that's a bad thing, but I mean that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. There's another one where it's like, which console, Xbox or PS4, and he's like PC. he just has an alternate answer for everything that's even nerdier than what the little box they want to put him in.
Yeah, because they even
Built
talk.
a computer myself.
Yeah, because they even talked about Star Wars or Star Trek, and he was like Warhammer 40,000. So it's like, yeah, it seemed like a kind of a constant thread for that interview. Like, hey, you're gonna ask me either or, and I'm just gonna throw out the fucking third answer every damn time. And he was like, women or men? Both. I'm like, no. But no, Yennefer. I only know Yennefer from the game, and the actress seemed really good playing her. I don't know how accurate the arc is for her.
I think because I believe because the games all take place after the books.
Yeah.
Like that was the author wanted that because he didn't want the games to have any canon with the books.
Oh.
So we talked about it last time, but the author like really hates CD Projekt Red.
Oh, really?
Because he thought the games like wouldn't make any money whatsoever, so he signed like an upfront deal, like just lump sum upfront
Yeah,
money,
so
and they went on to make hundreds of millions of dollars, and he got really mad about that.
Well, I know people are mad about Trish in the game or in the TV show because I guess she doesn't have red hair like she does in the fucking game and the books or whatever.
Was she in the TV show?
Yeah, she's in the first season of the TV show. She's blonde, not redheaded.
Huh. I don't remember who Trish was.
The other love interest for Geralt. It's a redhead, skinny, also a sorcerer.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I ended up with Yennefer in my game.
Oh, you're just talking about? Are you talking about the series or the game?
the game?
Okay.
But she's also in the.
Oh, is she in the
TV
show?
series.
Okay, I didn't remember her being in the show, but.
But all the monsters I thought were pretty well done, and I don't think I actually, usually there's like, especially because what was it, 8 episodes, right?
Yeah, 8 episodes.
Usually there's like at least some lull somewhere in there in the first season for like, oh, this is kind of. There wasn't really a lull. There wasn't really a part I disliked, and it was pretty well done.
The only lull I'd like maybe point at is like the dragon episode, but I thought that was still a
Oh.
neat episode, but it didn't really go into the other timelines. So it was kind of just about the dragon, and like nothing about the dragon was explained. Like, oh, he's a guy, and then he's not, and then he's a small dragon, and then he's a big dragon. Like, what the fuck is this?
I kind of didn't like the. I mean, I know you have to do CGI for that because how the fuck you do practical effects for a dragon?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I felt like it could have been slightly better done
Yeah.
than the way that CGI dragon was. But I have no idea how long they had to do that and finish it.
Yeah.
So. It's not like the movie Cats or anything. I mean,
I was on a deep rabbit hole into Cats. Not that I wanted to see it or anything, but I got stuck into a YouTube vortex of just the things people were saying about it and scenes they'd lifted from it. And they said that the director of this has now completely surpassed David Cronenberg as the champion of body horror. It's like, what are you talking about? And then they had clips from the movie, and I watched them. It's like, they're on to something. This is really weird.
well, there's a reason people are going high to the theater to watch it. It's not because it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's what people have been doing is going on LSD or shrooms to go and
It's become
watch.
like a Rocky Horror thing
Yeah.
now. It's like we're just going to get screwed up. And
Well, I heard on another podcast, a guy telling his story how he just like went to go Cats, like, we got to see this train wreck or whatever, or maybe he would appreciate it, I don't know. And he went there just like, and the crowd was just like ready to like make it their own movie. And the guy there's one guy there just like really like, no, we be quiet, we need to watch this movie, and he just like called everyone a cunt and left. And it's like because they just there to laugh at the fucking movie, not watch it or enjoy it or appreciate it anyway, or appreciate it in their own way.
Yeah, they're gonna enjoy it, but not for the right reason.
Okay, but did anybody actually have like the plot or the entire plot breakdown? Because I have never seen the Cats musical. I've never heard anything about it besides.
Essentially, there's something called Jellicle, which is essentially
Yeah.
the afterlife, and it's all these cats are auditioning. So that's what the songs are about. The cats are auditioning to explain who they are and why they would be right to go to the afterlife.
Yeah, the Jellicle Moon and the Jellicle blah
Yeah.
blah. And where
So
it just,
as far as I know, that's the plot of the movie.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, there's some cool songs in it. You know more than you think of them because it's been around for 50 years or whatever. It's been around a long time. But this was not the right format, and people looked weird, and they moved strangely. And I mean, they sent it to the movie, and then they sent a note a week later to the theaters that were showing it, like, we're sending a revised edition with upgraded special effects. It's like, oh, within a week you're doing that, huh? What the hell is that all about? And then it's got an even wider release now with more improved effects. I mean, I hear these things, I just read them, I don't follow up, but it's like, how much money are they throwing at this? It's like a $500 million movie.
No, I think it's like $200 million or something like that. They're just losing their ass on that.
Oh, yeah.
so why continually waste money on it? Why not just cut your loss and just call it what it is?
Oh, they probably already paid the studio and they're just working on it. And like this, I don't know. They had to make a release date and they decided to like, hey, let's treat this like a video game release and we'll just send patches to the theater.
Well, I mean, supposedly the first patch was because the director insisted, because he was so mortified by the finished product that he was like, no, this will fix it. And it's like, well, did it totally reshoot the film and put it in? Like, no. So
I know like the normal, like the cat people thing kind of looks weird, but like for what it's going for, it's like it's doing its thing. The only thing I saw was like that part with like the cockroaches where it just seemed like so they're just taking one person and they're multiplying it, but then there's like parts where like the face on the cockroach is like clearly not like cut out right, like the green screen was shitty or someone had to manually cut out the face and they just did a terrible job. They just grabbed a wand tool and just did a little half circle and it's like, fuck it, let's go.
Well, yeah, because they said like literally anything Pixar related would be in this genre anyway. For all CGI movie, would be 3 to 4 years to finish in production and everything else with pre-production and all this other stuff. This took like less than a year for all this shit. So it's like a lot of this is just because they rushed the shit out of it and they didn't want to wait. They wanted their money. So I mean, I don't know if this would have been better as a summer release.
Well, they usually only do a rush job for rights issues. It's like, we have to make this movie or it's not ours anymore.
I mean, Andrew Lloyd Webber's alive, isn't he, or no?
Yeah, but like
Tom Hooper directed this.
Yeah.
He's
for
done-
a minute there I was thinking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre guy, Toby Hooper.
No, this was the guy who now the musical I do know. He did the one. He did the Les Miserables with Hugh Jackman and the other
Hathaway.
guy, the Australian.
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, and that was actually kind of cool because they actually sang their songs like the actors did, and they're not necessarily like I get Hugh Jackman is,
Yeah.
but they weren't all necessarily like the best suited for that, and they were filming the movie while it was going on. So, like, when Jean Valjean was singing at the Battle of the Bastille, they were firing cannons off and stuff. He had a microphone patched into his ear that was giving him the lyrics, and he was singing it while the camera was moving. It was sort of cool. I actually went to the theater and watched that. So I know this guy can do these right, but I think in this case there was just too many cooks in the kitchen or something, because, I mean, I didn't watch it, but there were so many YouTube videos that were actually creative and fun just tearing this movie apart. I just spent hours like watching them like, how can this be that bad? But it can. So,
And what's the studio that made it again?
let's see who made that one.
I'm gonna guess Sony. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, Sony's track record would lead you to believe that, but I don't know if it's Sony or not.
Let's see who made this.
I'm gonna go with Universal.
Company, Amblin, Universal
Universal. Okay.
distributor. But yeah, it was a working title, Amblin, Useful Group, and Perfect World Pictures. Distributed in the U.S. by Universal Pictures.
Okay.
Now overseas,
I'm just gonna attribute that to Universal. Maybe it was independently made and they just distribute. But
now overseas, is this a blockbuster movie?
I don't know.
Is this doing really well overseas compared to here?
I don't know. Let me go to the box office.
Yeah, 'cause I don't even know if it's released overseas yet, but I assume it probably is.
Well, because I know there's always staggered releases because not everybody's on the same time.
Yeah, sometimes, but if they're rushing to this to theater, you might as well send it overseas too.
No, this movie's made more money in the U.S. than it has overseas. Yeah, the loss. What's the gain loss real? Well, it's not really totaled yet, but they're guessing they're going to lose anywhere from 170 to 200 million dollars off it, which that's a career-ending loss. It won something at the Golden Globes.
Okay.
Best original song, which is all this is.
You think it'll clean up at the Razzies?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, the Razzies aren't there yet, but they probably will. Because even the Razzies aren't about like what's the actual worst, technically worst made movie. It's just like what's the most famous bomb that came out this year.
Yeah.
I just can't believe that fucking what's his name? Guy was in like Beast of No Nation and stuff like that as the general. Like,
yeah, Idris Elba.
yeah, he's a really good fucking actor. That's like, why the fuck is he in this goddamn
Like,
movie?
why was Judi Dench in this?
Like, I know a James Gordon and fucking
Ian McKellen in this. You know, a lot of weird. I guess they said Taylor Swift was like the highlight of the movie. Like, she did a good job.
Is that the person that plays the lead character, or who the fuck is? I don't.
No, she just has a
Cameo.
Who plays the lead?
Because I have no
I think
idea
it's
who
a
the
black
hell the lead
actress
is.
that plays the lead.
Yeah. Yeah, Jennifer Hudson.
Okay.
Yeah, she's more of a singer, also acts sometimes.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, I don't think the singing performances are necessarily they're probably not bad in this movie. It's just everything else is a mystery.
It's a weird looking movie,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't. I don't know how much.
This is a fetish for like 10 people in the world, and that's the only people.
Yeah. It's like the most expensive fetish movie ever made.
Well, because in like the Cats musical, is it like the same scale of like how cats exist in our universe, or is it like the cats are
No,
the
it's
whole?
people in high quality costumes that sing really well.
No, I know.
But
I'm just
it's
saying,
like the scale. It's like they're supposed to be cats, like
yeah, they're
big
supposed to be
tables.
like cat
and-
size. They're not supposed to be
Yeah.
human size.
it's like big
Yeah.
tables, big sofas, shit
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So.
Oh
That's-
yeah, they live.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
and they
But
have-
I don't think humans exist in their world.
It doesn't seem like it.
They don't seem to be a part of it. This is like kind of the shadow world. Well, this is also like a magical world.
Yeah.
It's
Because
about the
cats are
night-
magicians.
the night lives and
I'm
who sings-
auditioning for death.
Who sings the best songs? Everyone has a song in them.
I saw a weird anime on Netflix.
Okay.
I mean, all animes are weird, but I was just going through like what's popular on Netflix, and it was a show called Cells at Work,
Okay.
which is it's essentially like a workplace like drama slash comedy slash action show, but it's like a representation of the human body.
Okay.
And so you have characters like they're human characters. They have like red suits on, and they're supposed to represent blood cells, and they're like transporting, and like they're couriers, and like they literally have like food or oxygen, and they're transporting it to other parts of the body, and the body's just represented by a city.
Okay. Interesting concept.
And then the white blood cells.
VX gas probably wanted to tax the.
But it is like weirdly educational because it'll go into like the various like things that happen like when your body gets damaged and this is how it repairs. It'll go into like technical detail about how your body repairs and stuff like that. You have the the germs that are invading the body, and the white blood cells are just basically the SWAT team that they go in there and they have like and like everybody looks the same, but everyone has a certain number. But like well, I mean, some people are slightly different, but like the major white blood cell guy, he has like hair over one of his eyes, and then he has a knife, and he's always like stabbing and ripping like germs apart, and there's just blood going everywhere. But it's also like a lighthearted comedy at the same time.
Okay. I'll have to watch that then. It seems kind of.
Yeah, watch one episode. That's all you really need. But
Oh.
it's pretty interesting. There's like a further like there's like a echelon above white blood cells that it's part of your defense system of your body, and they're represented by guys that are just like in sort of like black SWAT gear, but it just says "kill" on their shirt, and they have coffee cups that say "kill" on it.
Oh, okay.
And like the main red blood cell lady, she's always getting lost. She has to deliver oxygen to the lungs, but she doesn't know how to get to the lungs, and she crosses one of those like SWAT team guys. He's like, "What the hell are you doing here? You're going the wrong way!" And she like runs out scared. And then the other one I'm watching on Amazon is called Banana Fish.
Okay.
Which I heard is just like a really like just a dreary drama about drug addiction and abuse. So
Sounds good.
and the main drug is called banana fish. Doesn't have English dub, so it's always weird to hear like the Japanese voice actors say banana fish because like banana fish. It's like, this is the worst drug ever, but apparently people like it and it's killing them.
Yeah.
I've only watched a couple episodes of that. There's like just one guy goes crazy like in Iraq and like starts killing his own squad, and then they cut to like New York where there's some guy who runs like a drug gang, but like somebody dies and has this vial and they give it to him, and then like the vial has banana fish, which is like some new super drug that the overarching like drug lord is like trying to keep secret or for himself, and he's looking for it, and he doesn't necessarily he has suspicions that this guy has it, but he doesn't know. And it's also implied that this guy probably molested this kid.
Oh boy.
That's now a part of his like drug crew, or is a part of his drug crew. He's like one of his bosses. Like he runs this other drug crew, but yeah, so very different from usual anime. This is usually just like all action or just all weirdness, and this is just like a really dreary drama about drug addiction.
Dark.
Yeah.
Set in New York City.
It's all over the world. Like I said,
Oh, okay.
it started like Iraq or Afghanistan, I'm not sure, and then it goes to New York City, and I imagine it'll jet set all over the world, but at some point. But that's just the first episode is Iraq and New York. And then I finished Lodge 49. I don't know if they're getting a third season or not, but it ends on a fuck. I hope. I wish there was a third season. Yeah, the second season is like really good. Like first season's like weird and campy, but second season like there's like a lot of like emotional pathos that has like real payoff. That's like kind of surprising for how goofy the series is.
Oh.
Because there's a part where it's Dud, and I can't remember the other guys. I'm just say Frank. Frank is like the, and I'm just doing this wrong. I'm just calling him Frank, but it's like he's the knight of this lodge, and then like Dud is supposed to be his squire, and he's supposed to be like helping him get him, teach him things, stuff like that. As being a surrogate father, being that his dad probably committed suicide, but they don't know. And like Dud like started the series essentially homeless, although he's always comically when he goes somewhere he has a bag that like presumably has clothes in it, and then he just has like an industrial sized bag of toilet paper rolls that like he just takes it everywhere he goes.
Okay.
I haven't like checked to see if like he's it's like, is the bag getting smaller or not? He just like that's always what he has with him. So it's just funny because he'll just grab one bag and then toilet paper. It's like ready to go. So there's this part where Frank doesn't have any money. He has to sell his prized Cadillac, which is like a 96 Cadillac, but it's his, so it's special to him, but it's not necessarily like something that's actually prized. And he doesn't have the money, but he goes to the pawn shop guy who basically every character is indebted to and owns all Dud's stuff, because like when Dud's father shop went under, basically he owns everything that his dad used to have. So like he's always going there and basically like reacquiring things from his father, from this pawn shop guy. And so Frank goes in there to make a bet because he's also a bookie on the side, because of course he is. And he bets like this long shot college team is going to beat like this number 1 team. And so Dud hears about that, and he like goes and does the right thing. He's like, he's not going to win that bet. So he gets the guy to call it off. And in order to do that, he gives him his dad's watch, which he just got back like in the previous season.
Yeah.
And then that team ends up winning. So Frank would have got like, $100,000 or whatever. But he called off the bet. And so he goes to tell him that like, Dud goes to tell Frank that he called off the bet. And he's like, I got great news. He's like, so do I. Because so Frank thought he won like $100,000. And but he's like, he lets Dud go first, and like he just tells the story about how like it's like, I did a good thing, man. I called off your bet. And like Frank doesn't get immediately mad or anything like that. He just like lets him like talk through his reasoning, and it's like this weirdly like, it's almost like father-son scene or whatever, where he like Frank just sits there and listens. He doesn't get mad at him for it, and he explains how he gave up his watch. And it's like the scene where he's like he doesn't deserve the watch yet, because it's like if he gets to keep the watch, then it's almost like that's the finality. His dad's dead if he keep the watch, so he's like he needs something to strive for. It's like just weirdly like well done, the pathos and emotion in a show you don't really expect it from.
Yeah, it sounds like a kind of a Tolkien-esque sort of overstory with this really simple stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I also find Paul Giamatti is like a producer on there, and he shows up this season and as a fucking completely ridiculous character.
Oh, well, that's good.
Like the first scene in season 2 is they're on a plane, and then like the plane starts going down, and then like Paul Giamatti is like, well, there's 3 parachutes, and then like why he says that a person wearing a cartoonish version of the world just runs and jumps out of the plane.
Okay.
And then he's like, well, gentlemen, you'll have to share this parachute. And he hands it, and then he jumps out of the plane. And then it like cuts to like 3 months earlier. That's the start of the season 2. And then you get up to that spot, and it actually all makes sense. I mean, sort of.
Well, yeah.
And then, but the season ends with, they keep finding new, like, nooks and crannies in the lodge. Like, just, like they open up a spot, and there's just, like, more rooms that they never knew existed.
Uh-huh.
And a part of the lodge is, like, the outside, like, where the parking lot is, there's, like, a door, like, on the second story that leads to nowhere. It's just a door on the second story. There's no staircase there. It's just in the wall. And nobody knows what it's there for.
Huh.
And then, like, somewhere at the end of season 2, like, they're doing something. Like, something happy happens. Dud gets his car back, which is, like, a German thing. Like, those weird, boxy German cars. It's just called a thing.
Yeah.
And and he goes to go like start up his car, and then he just has like a sudden epiphany, and at the same time a storm starts, and he goes to his trailer that he's living at, and he starts to dig a pool, like in the front yard,
Okay.
and then he has a shovel in his hand, and he gets shocked by lightning, and then he just falls down in the mud, and he just like starts sinking into the mud, and it was like, until he disappears. And it's like, is he fucking dead? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, this show's ending. And then, like, the last shot of the movie is, like, they cut to that door at the lodge. And he just falls out of the door, like, with all the mud and stuff with it.
Huh.
And that's the end of the season.
That's weird.
So, we'll see. I don't know if that'll get renewed or not. It probably won't, so. But,
Hey, I just heard recently that Mystery Science Theater is not getting renewed.
no, that's the end of... It's the end of the Mr. Science Theater, at least on Netflix.
It only got 2 seasons, didn't it?
Yep.
Wonder
'Cause
what
I
that-
watched the entire first and second season, so I guess
Well,
I
the second season, it's like only like 8 episodes, but
Yeah, I
it's
know.
pretty good.
that's way better. I mean, I thought it was better than season 1, but that's just...
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know. Because, like, they didn't have to really finance the first season, so maybe they just lost their ass on the second season and decided not to go forward with it.
Yeah.
Or maybe because they didn't really... I don't think they own the rights to it, so maybe it's not a big deal to them.
I
Because
was
they're...
kind of surprised. I was enjoying
Yeah. Yeah, because I figured, like... I mean, one of the reasons that show exists in the first place is because the production cost on it is extremely low.
Yeah. It's,
I mean, I doubt Patton Oswalt was pulling in a huge ass paycheck.
No, like, everyone was doing favors on that show, so...
Yeah, so I can't imagine. Besides, because I don't think they had any of the old sets and stuff to really borrow from, so I know they probably had to make all.
No,
new
yeah,
stuff
it was
for
all
that.
new.
So I mean,
Except for probably like Servo and
yeah,
and
those
Crow.
expensive props.
It's not like every fan in the world hasn't built one of their own that they can just pick up and go.
yeah, I kind of wonder nowadays if somebody else will pick that up or make that another.
I mean, they could always do another Kickstarter because it used to be. I'm not sure. There's probably more successful ones now, but at the time it was the most successful Kickstarter ever. So
Yeah, they were just recently surpassed. Only because Veronica Mars was the biggest.
yeah,
Then MST3K, and then there's something to make a animated series out of a short that recently raised more money. And I don't know.
and I think Zach Braff did something that had a surprisingly lot amount of money get towards it. So
I still want to see the guy get the Kickstarter for the Thomas the Tank Engine dark fantasy RPG. That was my favorite Kickstarter.
I heard a story the other day about The Expanse started out as an MMO.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were working on an MMO for somebody, and then it didn't work out, and then that's when the I can't remember. I want to say it's Ty Finnick.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the guys. I can't remember the other guy. He came in and like saw the material that he had worked on, and he's like, "I think we can make something with this." And that's when they got together to write The Expanse or
Oh, okay.
Leviathan Wakes.
I can
So-
see that.
So I didn't know that it started out as a video game and then became a book series. That's usually doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Especially one that has become an acclaimed book and TV series.
Which I still haven't caught the new season yet because I keep forgetting about it. But
Well, you still want to read the book, right?
yeah,
Are you reading the book now, or?
yeah, I just started it, but I
Okay.
was trying to. I only try and do one book at a time just because it. I don't know. I find it
Yeah.
easier just to concentrate. Otherwise, I don't want to leapfrog back and forth.
Yeah,
between
yeah,
two
I
books.
understand.
So that's why I was. Now, since I'm doing the ministry biography, I'll probably take a break until that's done. But I guess I don't know how. It's like 300 some pages.
Yeah, it's just like 200 or 300 pages.
Yeah, that won't take me that long. As long as I diligently read.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do all my reading next week, so, or this week, tomorrow.
And this time it's actual reading because there's no audiobook.
Yeah, no audiobook.
Because every time you guys say read and it's an audiobook, I'm like, isn't that just a misnomer? Like, you mean listen?
Well, I mean it's a book, but
No, I know, but at the same time, it's like, yeah. Like, I read your words out of this blue. No, my wife started watching a new show, that Nora's Playlist or whatever. Hulu.
Was that something like the?
It's like-
Because there's that movie, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist.
Or maybe it's not Nora, but it's basically just a woman that goes about and like she has a CT scan for something, and then suddenly she can hear people singing all the time about their problems, like in her own head.
Huh.
And so it's like a man singing, like one of her supervisors at work when they're on a project, and he's singing Mad World in his head, and she was like, "That doesn't seem like him. He seems really happy and upbeat, and like he has his shit together. Why would he be depressed?" And it was like, "Oh, I don't know." Like, it's kind of weird because it's kind of like a low rent musical because it's all the actors singing their own stuff,
Yeah.
and seems kind of interesting but also crappy at the same time.
Yeah. I don't care much for musicals.
Yeah. My wife thinks it's okay. I thought it looked like shit, but
I showed you a wrestling match a couple weeks ago. Do you remember it?
yeah, it was fuck.
Orange Cassidy versus.
Yeah, because he just basically, because I was trying to remember between that and another one I watched recently. Yeah, but Orange Cassidy just basically doesn't do anything the whole match. Like
Well, that's
gets-
his whole gimmick, but
Yeah.
yeah. I wrote down it's like it's one of the most amazing moments in wrestling where a man gets a standing ovation for sitting down on a chair. Because the other guy like takes his glasses and breaks them, and then he pulls out a chair, and it looks like he's like super mad. He's gonna beat the guy with the chair. Then he just like sets it up, sits down, pulls another pair of glasses out of his, and puts them on, and the crowd stands up and cheers for him.
I like his T-shirt thing.
Yeah, it's just more pictures of him on a T-shirt. So I'm not sure if did you watch that one? I put it as a link in the notes, so I'm not sure if you watched it or not.
I probably did. I usually look at those. I mean, that's just the disinterested wrestler guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also Wrestle Kingdom 14 happened this last week, which that's New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's essentially their equivalent of WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
So this time they switched it up. Instead of like a 1 8-hour show or 6-hour show, it was 2 3.5 hour shows over 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, okay.
And I guess it's like a tradition that they do it on the 4th of January. Like it doesn't matter where it ends up in the week, they do it on the 4th of January.
Oh, that's just it, huh?
Yeah. But here it happened to land on the weekend, so it was probably like easier for them somehow. But it was really good. There's nothing I can explain to you that will make any sense because you don't know any of the wrestlers or any of the backstory. So there's not much I can say about it other than it was really good. And if you watch it, you would probably enjoy it because Japanese wrestlers like to beat the fuck out of each other, essentially for real. Or as much as they can get away with.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I don't know more people that have died in the wrestling ring than Japanese people.
Oh, that high, huh?
Yeah. There's a guy named Shibata who he was going, I think maybe it was at a Wrestle Kingdom, and he headbutted Kazuchika Okada, who's like their top guy. He headbutted him like really hard. If you look up a clip of it, you can like just hear the thud that happens when he's like, oh, he just literally just headbutted that fucking guy in the head.
That hollow watermelon smack.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then you can just see blood just start streaming down his face. But he's still like conscious. He finishes the match, and then afterwards gets rushed to the hospital because he had a brain aneurysm. And he can never wrestle again.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, and the next night he was back in the ring.
Oh, he wants to get back in the ring, but they will not let him.
Yeah, as soon as he gets hit in the fucking head. What are the chances of that happening, Doc? Well, I'd say probably 100% every time you get back in the
And there's the one guy, I don't know his name, but he was a classic. There's another company called All Japan Pro Wrestling, and the guy, it was like Mitsuhara or something like that, and he died from internal decapitation.
Oh yeah, we talked about this because his spine was separated, but his head didn't come off.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
basically spinal cord just snapped in his neck while still connected to his body. And it wasn't like anything got fucked up. He did the move correctly. He took the bump correctly, and his spine just snapped.
Oh, that's good.
That's how hardcore Japanese wrestling is.
I mean, I can't say I don't applaud them for their work ethic,
Yeah.
but at the same time,
Well,
maybe
at some
that-
point, that's not worth it. That's just a death wish in front of a crowd.
Yeah, that's when art starts transcending everything.
Yeah, but what are the Japanese known for? Taking things too far.
The Japanese go hard on entertainment. I've noticed that about them.
They go hard on.
Well,
everything.
wrestling is another one of those things that, like, we brought it over there, and then they just kind of made it their own.
Yeah.
So, because it wasn't like wrestling as a long tradition over there. It's like they made it their own. Like, oh, these GIs are watching wrestling. Like, why don't we'll put on a wrestling match for the Americans?
They also like spectacle. They love spectacle.
Yeah.
Like it's a thing. It's like it's got to be loud. And it's got to get your attention because you're so buttoned down most of the time. Time to cut loose.
Let's see, the other.
Dad told us like when he went to Japan, he didn't know that Japan was a drinking culture until he went over there, and it's like they'll work from sun up till sundown, but when it's time to drink, look out. That means drink. Don't stop either. It's rude. You better drink as long as your boss drinks, because that's the rules.
The other wrestling I have things on AEW. I have Hangman Page and Fun Alcoholism.
Okay.
So they've been having a like an angle with him where they have this group called the Elite, which is basically everybody who came over from New Japan and Ring of Honor to create AEW. So you got the Young Bucks, Cody, Kenny Omega, and then Hangman Page is kind of like the fifth guy. And so they've been having kind of like Hangman Page is kind of slightly breaking away from the Elite, and then they have him being a drunk, like that's part of his downfall. And they'll have funny little blurbs when he comes to the ring. Like the first one that came up, it says like, spent last Saturday alone drinking a bottle of whiskey, and that was like it's like his tagline. It's like his record, like 4-1-1, and then like has been drinking. What's the other fun? Yeah, then there's one. Yeah, it just said he was an announcer on one of the thing, and like the little blurb just said like has been drinking. What's the other? But yeah, it's like his character's kind of been lost because they tried to like push him to the kind of push him to the moon, but like the crowd didn't necessarily take to him. But he's like obviously a star. They just like need to find a way. But he's like really good at doing goofy shit. Cause like from when they did All In, one of the best matches on that show was Joey Janela versus Hangman Page, and the backstory to that is that he killed Joey Ryan with his boots, and his boots started talking to him, and like.
Okay. I can see how that could happen.
And then he was fighting Joey Ryan because he's fighting Joey Janela because he was just he needed to fight more Joeys. Like it was a weird setup, but it worked because it was fucking stupid and weird.
The Joey exorcism.
Yeah. And then Joey Ryan came back from the dead and gave him the dick flip. And
Oh, so he didn't really kill him in real life.
oh no, he did that. No.
What are you saying?
Yeah, so that's all my. That's all
So,
my.
so
wrestling.
which computer fan did you fix?
Oh, the one on the back there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Don't you remember it being just blasting constantly?
Yeah.
So now it's not.
Well, I remember editing it. I'm just like, well, this is just gonna go out this way because
I didn't do anything. It didn't usually if the fan gets loud, all I have to do is just take canned air, go in there, blast it out, and it's good.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if it was a different fan. I didn't know if it was like the CPU fan, or if it was like the video card fan. I didn't know which one it was. And like I was starting to take it apart, and it was like, no, it was the main fan, because there's like it's water cool, or not. It's probably not water. It's probably like a silicone something.
Yeah.
Water thing. It has a water cooling system in it where just some liquid takes heat away from it and brings it to the fan, and the fan kicks it out. But I took it apart, and like there's and I just had to wipe it down and just kind of spray it out with dust, and then it stopped making noise. And it's not like it works. It's not like it just like stopped working and I didn't know. It's like it's still blowing air, but it's just whatever temp thing was covered in dust is now free of dust, and so it's not trying to go 100% all the time. So that's nice for the audio qualities.
Yeah. It helps you concentrate. So we watched a movie this week.
I don't know, did we?
I fell asleep. So
Okay.
Okay. I didn't.
Well, sorry. It's kind of a habit sometimes when I like curl in to watch a movie, I'll just fall asleep. So sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
fine.
5 minutes into it and fell asleep, so I'll have to continue on with it at a later date.
But yeah, I've been really because I love Alfonso Cuarón movies, and this is like one I just for some reason didn't find time to watch, and so like, we're doing this feature, so might as well watch it.
Yeah.
This is Roma, which
Yes,
is
his follow-up to Gravity.
which is like a vaguely autobiographical take on his life and
That's what I've heard.
this section of Mexico City, which is like an affluent section of Mexico City.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I heard stuff about this, I was under the impression that there was going to be a natural disaster, and I thought that's what the movie was going to be on. I didn't know it was just basically human drama.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of disasters, but yeah, there were...
There was a fire, and those riots, which I didn't know what those were necessarily about, but...
Yeah, that's the communists versus the... well, it's a lot of class warfare. I looked it up just because I was curious, too, because it had like a section of one of those cool Children of Men running gun battles
yeah.
in Mexico, and it's like, yeah, that stuff happened, but it happened like several times. So I couldn't pin down, because this was set in like 70, 71.
Yeah.
So I couldn't pin down exactly when that was, which was...
I mean, it made me interested enough to go like kind of look it up, but I felt like a lot of the movies lost on me because there's a lot of things that like I wouldn't necessarily understand or know.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff where it says about like when subtitles are done in brackets, it's like a slightly different dialect or language.
Yeah, it's more the native like Aztec it's called Miztec.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, the main character in this movie, Cleo, like I always forget, because when I think of Mexico, I just think Mexicans.
Yeah.
And I always forget, it's like, oh no, there's like 3 distinct groups of people down there. That, you know, there's like the Mexicans that speak Spanish. Well, those are basically people from Spain. And then there's like the native peoples, and like she's obviously like a native person of Mexico. That's what because she looks very different from all the other characters.
Yeah.
And she speaks and kind of hangs out with her own group of people.
Well, there's 2 maids. She's a maid of this like doctor, and there's another maid in the in the house that's when she talks. This Miztec is when she's around the other maids.
Yeah, so that was like, oh yeah, I always forget about that. It's like, yeah, that's right. They're not all from Spain.
But it's a wonderfully shot movie. That's kind of what you watch this movie for.
Yeah, what is that style? Because I mean, it looks black and white, but it's called something else. 'Cause it's like single monochrome, or there's something.
Oh.
It's a special kind of filming, like monochrome matte, something or another. I don't know.
Okay.
One thing I liked about this movie, because I watched it like 4 times. I thought it was because the first time I watched it, I was like, huh, am I not smart enough to? I'm not really like super.
Yeah.
And then I watched it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this again, because I don't want to read shit, and then it's just a queue of, oh, I'm looking for this, and I'm checking things off a list that like other smart people said. I didn't want to do that. But then I noticed like the second time I watched it, it's like, oh, the sound in this movie's awesome. Like the camera kind of moves around sort of behind people, and there's always something going on. There's people talking, and then there's like tink 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 tink, or there's music, or there's other people talking in the background that's indistinct.
Or just dogs barking and alarms going off that you don't know what they are.
Yeah, it has nothing to do. It's like everyone just kind of takes it in. Or there's rain. There's lots of rain pattering in the background in this. Different scenes. And
I like that opening shot where it's just water on a tile floor.
Yeah.
And then at some point, like the water kind of becomes a reflection of like the window. And you see like an airplane in the window, water reflection. It's just like this. It just constantly builds. Like, this is amazing. Also, it's just water on a fucking ground. It's like, I don't know how this guy does this.
Well, it's like remember when they go to see the guy who supposedly he's doing like tricks and he's a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
And there's a plane flying overhead.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the really loud 707s or something where it's like it almost, you can't hear him for a second, but he's still talking. He's still doing this thing, and this plane's flying overhead. But but it's all a part of it, and the whole soundscape of the movie's like that.
Oh, the part
Like
where
when
she
trying to
walks.
Go ahead.
The part where she walks in the ocean, it's just like this continually building progression, and the water just keeps getting deeper and deeper, and the camera's just like in this same slow track, but like the scenery just changes as the camera moves. It's like, and they can't even plan that. That's a fucking ocean.
Yeah, they're not in control. It's not a wave pool on a set somewhere.
Well, I guess it could be, but I don't know.
I doubt it. This movie was made for $15 million, so. But I don't know what you can do in Mexico for $15 million. Like get a space shuttle built for that. I don't know.
Yeah, it was that weird. Like, they watched like a space movie called Marooned, and then like kids were like suddenly in space helmets and shit. Like,
yeah,
just suddenly kids were into space for a moment.
Yeah, because the kids were always like doing stuff, and the dog was always crapping, in the
Constantly
hallway.
shitting on the fucking floor.
Yeah,
And every time you see the car parking there, you always see dog shit everywhere.
everywhere. Dogs shitting all the time. And just like the car, like when the guy's pulling the big car in, when he has like the old 70s bomb, the wide car, because he has to pull it inside every night and they gate it up.
Yeah.
And it's this long, narrow aisleway where the dog shits. But just the sound, like you can hear the belt squeaking in the engine, and then he has to stop, and you hear the clunk, clunk, clunk. He puts it in reverse, and it's like, yeah, they just mixed all the sound like at the same, like how you would hear it. You know, it wasn't like background; it was all up front sound. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. There's a lot of little things with this movie. I didn't like fall in love with any of the characters or the story.
No.
They all seem kind of like depressed people, and I mean, it actually made Mexico look nice in a way to me. Like I never thought of, I always think of people living in like container huts and stuff down there, but
Or go hang out with the white people and just shoot guns in the middle
Yeah.
of the gun.
yeah, the mysterious white people that speak Spanish like Mexicans, and
Well, there's a part where they're shooting guns. It's like, it's in English. There's like that blonde lady. He's like point it down when you're not shooting. Like it was an English lady, but
oh yeah, that's right. Remember the woods caught on fire
yeah,
later that night?
yeah. Later that night, there's that guy in that weird grass uniform, just like singing as the fire is burning. I think he's singing. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a lot of weird, like anomalous stuff going on that there's just nothing to, like, oh, okay, that just happened, and we're walking on here, we're moving along.
Yeah, it's like almost a Fellini film,
Yeah,
but not quite, because it's a focus on a drama.
coherent.
It's mostly focused on her, like she, gets pregnant, tries to get this guy to like.
Oh yeah, I got to go to the bathroom guy. I'll be
Yeah.
right back, and he just like smoke on the wind, like that's nice.
And then she ends up having her daughter stillborn, and that's
Oh, yeah,
super
that was-
sad.
That was a weird scene because they show the whole, like they put because it's like an industrial birthing facility at this hospital. It's like, here comes the baby. Okay, you can only hold it for a little bit. We've got to take it now. And they literally like wrap it up like a mummy, and she's just sitting there looking straight ahead, and the camera's shooting across at it. It's like, That's awful. that's a really like, but that's, you know. And then the doctor and his wife, like it starts off as a whole family, but as the movie progresses, like he just disappears out of the picture.
Yeah. Well, they keep saying he's in Quebec, but he's just like now they're separated and he's sleeping with some younger woman or something.
Yeah.
And his wife is, I don't know, maybe it's because in black and white, but she just looks like a white lady. She doesn't necessarily look like Hispanic or Mexican or anything.
Yeah, well, the people, people who are down there from like Spain,
Yeah,
like whether they stayed in the same bloodline, yeah, they look like white people.
yeah.
That's really weird to see that because whoever the current president is, I forget. They had a picture of him and his staff, and it looked like some German dude was standing next to him. He was like some blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. It's like, oh no, he's from Mexico. He was born there. His family's been there for 200 years, but he's from Spain, or his family was, and they never like interbred with the natives or whatever.
Well, plus you have a lot of French bloodline down there too, since they were the people that ruled Mexico before the Spaniards did. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm sure there's plenty of white bloodline kicking around down there. So,
Well, Mitt Romney's family, they're all down there. Well, I don't know if his direct family, but all his cousins and stuff. That's because they wanted to be, have 9 wives and stuff.
Yeah, there's a part where like they go to like one of their favorite restaurants just so like their dad can get all his shit and leave. And then when they
Yeah.
get back, like all the bookcases are gone and all the books are like on the floor.
Yeah, I like how the house slowly changes throughout the movie. There's always little things going on in the house. It's right. Write your dad a note. Tell him you love him and miss him. Tell him you love him and miss him. It was like it just beat into these kids. Write father another note. He needs to know. Yeah, great shot movie, great soundscape. I think that's what it was meant to be.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's
kind of
what
that's what he
got out.
does, but yeah.
Yeah.
And it was more personal to him, and it's, and like I said, maybe it's just lost on an American white guy, but I still appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, it made me think differently about Mexico. Like I said, I think about Mexico. I just think about people living in, containers and stuff. Like that. I don't know why that pops in, because a lot of Mexico City looks like that.
Yeah,
It's like it's just people that have made houses out of shipping containers and
well, it's
just
like
kind
what, the 5th largest city in the world?
second.
first or second, depending on.
Tokyo's
Yeah.
first.
Oh,
Tokyo has
right,
like 20 million, and Mexico City has like 16 million people or something like that.
Very different looking cities, though.
Yeah.
Well, if Japan,
Well, yeah, because Mexico City like it has the same elevation as Colorado. It has like a defunct river underneath it, so eventually that's all gonna fall into itself at some point.
well, it gets more rainfall than London every year,
Yeah.
but it's running out of water at a rapid pace because it's draining all its stuff from its aquifer, so it's not putting any water back.
And was there an earthquake in this movie? Like when they're in the hospital looking at the babies? Is that what happens when the wall falls in? Was that an
I
earthquake?
wasn't sure about that.
So I didn't know if Mexico got earthquakes, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, they
Mexico
do.
City gets
Yeah.
earthquakes all the time.
Yeah, they're all part of that whole.
well, California is connected to.
Yeah.
And all that.
San Andreas, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever movie that Rock was in. Like, I don't know.
Yep, San Andreas.
Yeah, I know.
Like the video game.
That's the only reason people watch that movie. Then they're disappointed. Like,
I didn't watch it. But
I watched it. Just
I don't know.
because
Like
it's-
all Rock's movies are like he's good in them, but they're always terrible, and like he drags you through them. It's like, okay, I like The Rock, but that movie's terrible.
The basic remake of the Towering Inferno with him with a prosthetic leg was interesting but stupid.
yeah, that movie's totally stupid. Rampage is totally stupid, but watchable with him in it.
We didn't tell you about the flying wolf yet. It's like, what the fuck?
Jumanji's totally shitty.
I hear people like it, but I know you don't like it.
It's fucking horrible. Like, I don't even know why.
But you
I
think
know
you'd
why they
more
made
or
the
less
second one.
like the second one.
I would assume the second one's exactly like the first one, except with Danny DeVito and Daniel Glover in it for
Okay.
some reason. which I don't know how much a part they actually play in it, but
Well, I
still keep-
mean,
When I think about The Rock's career, the movie that always comes to mind is that one. The guy did Donnie Darko.
oh, Southland Tales.
Yeah, that was such a weird choice. It's like I'm gonna do this movie. It's like okay.
yes, but
That's not
I actually like Southland Tales. It's actually an entertaining movie, and it actually seems like it has a point.
Well, he did. He did Scorpion King, which was terrible.
But that was his major break, though, for as far as
Well, he did the Mummy Returns as the Scorpion
yeah,
King,
that's
and
right,
then he
yeah.
did Scorpion King, and then somewhere along the lines he did like the sequel to Get Shorty, which I think is like Be Cool or something like that, where he
Yep.
played like a gay limo driver, which was like a stretch for his character for him at the time.
Yeah.
And then I think he did like Southland Tales around the same time, and then like the Rundown, and that was kind of like his first actually big hit movie that he was a part of.
Yeah.
Um,
That was actually a good movie
But
too.
at least
Yeah.
it's not like John Cena making that stupid firefighter movie.
well, as we talked about, The Rock has made plenty of bad,
No, he's
stupid
made plenty of
movies,
bad movies, but I don't
but
know if
you get through them because he's in it.
wasn't he also in like something like he's a professional football player that's the kids dropped in his lap or whatever at the same time. He's wearing a tutu and a football uniform at the same.
Oh, the
thing.
Tooth Fairy?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that one he's just a Tooth Fairy, right?
I think so. But I think there's is that the same one?
Or maybe I'm thinking of what's the one with Vin Diesel?
That's Pacifier.
Yeah, Pacifier. So maybe I'm thinking of that one. But The Rock is in a movie called The Tooth Fairy.
Yeah.
I think he actually plays a Tooth Fairy though,
Okay, I couldn't remember if that was the one or if that was
because the sequel to it is Larry the Cable Guy as the Tooth Fairy.
Well, he's also in like the remake of Escape from Witch Mountain, which I've never seen.
Oh yeah,
Because he's in
yeah. He's like the taxi driver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now he's in this new movie for another ride.
Oh, is that what that's about? Okay, because he's like a boat driver, and it just looks like a Mummy movie, but The Rock's in it.
Yeah, as a sassy boat driver.
Sassy boat driving Rock.
I mean,
I want David Lynch to have The Rock in a movie because he could do it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. I mean,
And that dude's so fucking busy because he does like 5 movies a year, and he still does Ballers.
yeah.
And
he gets up
if
at
you follow his
4:30 in the morning and works out.
yeah, if you watch his Instagram, he does like here's my 3-hour workout, just like 5 in the morning. Like fuck you. Here's my 20 pounds of fish I ate this morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't get mercury poisoning.
Oh yeah. How was Hobbs and Shaw? Did anybody see that? Because I never did.
No, I never did. Because I always loved the Fast and Furious movies, or at least since Fast 5.
Yeah.
And then like from other people that are like really big Fast and Furious fans, I heard like it's not even fun.
Oh really?
I figured like, oh, this movie's gonna be totally stupid, but at least it'll be fun. But I heard it's not even fun, so
Oh.
I didn't bother to watch it.
I didn't hear anything about it. I know it made decent money. That's all I know.
Because I mean, it has good a cast. Like it's Idris Elba,
Yeah,
The
Jason
Rock, and
Statham,
Jason
yeah.
Statham. Like, how do you fuck that up? And it even has Helen Mirren in it, and apparently they fucked it up. So
No, because I was trying to think of movies I'd rather see The Rock in and stuff like that. Because I mean, he's in his 50s now, right?
yeah,
So I mean, he's not gonna play like a young guy anymore. But at the same time, I don't think he's actually played anybody that old so far. He's always
No.
played somebody in their
but when he's in
prime.
the shape he's in, he can play whatever age he
Oh
wants.
yeah, I know.
I mean,
Yeah,
like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
80.
Yeah, I mean Arnold Schwarzenegger was still like a cool action star when he was like in his 60s. So
Oh, wasn't he in like fucking GI Joe and shit too?
Yeah.
Okay, god damn it, I keep
he was in the second GI
I keep
Joe
forgetting
movie.
all the fucking movies he's been in.
I
Like
want
it's
a shot-for-shot remake of Blue Velvet with The Rock playing Dennis Hopper's character. Baby wants to fuck.
I think The Rock should do shit like that because I mean he's actually a decent actor. He's not a bad actor. He just always seems to take like the big market movies. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like
risky.
He's ridiculously physically imposing.
Yeah.
He's just like a giant among men.
and he just super charisma too. So
Yeah, and he's got seems like an upbeat personality. So I want to see him in dark roles.
yeah.
I want him to play the hitman in No Country for Old Men.
Oh yeah, he was in that No Pain No Gain fucking movie too. And
Yeah, I hear that's a really dark movie.
yeah, it's
but
a
I'm not
dark
sure.
movie, but it's
But I
good.
think he's like a redemptive character in that movie. I don't think he's like does all the killing or whatever. I believe there's killing in that movie.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
I watched it. It was pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I heard it was, well, I heard people say good things about it, but mostly because it was Michael Bay not doing just a giant action movie.
yeah, he didn't do that, but it was still Michael Bay.
Yeah, okay.
And still Mark fucking Wahlberg is the lead role, which I've never understood why people think Mark Wahlberg is a good actor or why he gets so many movies.
Well, like I think I've explained this before. Like nobody goes into a movie like with Mark Wahlberg as their number one actor.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, Brad Pitt said no, Tom Cruise said no. What's Mark Wahlberg doing? He's like, this movie.
See, that's why I should work into my Hal Simpson character, Mark Wahlberg. Like,
Matt Damon said no.
well, I mean, I think Departed is probably the only time I've actually not had a problem with his acting.
Actually, one of his really earlier roles where he like plays like a
Fear.
sadistic what?
Fear.
Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
he's
that
good
was-
in that.
Yeah, that was actually good. I remember that from the fucking 90s on VHS and shit.
Which kind of seems weird as like a sandwich of his career. It's like starts off really good actor, promising, and he's already famous for doing stupid music,
And talking
And
about his
then-
dick.
and then just plummets, and then like Departed, and then plummets. I don't know, like those movies like in Lone Survivor and the Horizon movie, like he's fine in it. He just plays like dudes, which
I
is
was
fine.
watching something recently where they were talking about Lone Survivor. They're talking about, because I thought that movie was going for more being realistic and telling a truthful story, and then it was like going through like the action scenes and other stuff they were doing. It's like you would never do this as a military unit.
Yeah.
You don't stay together when you're being shot at. You fan out. You make a bigger target. You don't make a small target.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and you wouldn't do this if a rocket propelled grenade hit you. You wouldn't just jump down the cliff or whatever. And it was like, yeah.
Well, it's that director. He's like kind of very Michael Bay-esque, where it's like we need explosions for everything. But it was true when they just like, well, we only have one place to go. Let's jump down this mountain. That did happen.
No, I know, and that's.
But yeah, the tactics displayed are not accurate,
Are questionable.
or probably not accurate. And if they are accurate, what the fuck were they doing?
I remember that was one of my wife's picks. Like, we got to see this movie. I hear it's this story about this guy. And I was like, yeah. I said, and I know my wife. And I was like, you're not going to like this movie. Well, why not? I said, well, what's the title of the movie? And she's like, Lone Survivor. I said, okay, so all the other people you see in this movie, they're going to get killed horribly. Like,
Guess
you're not going to get shot in the head and fall over. No, this is going to end bad. Oh, yeah, she was crying by the end of the movie. She's like, I hate this movie. I said, I told you wouldn't like it.
it's kind
But,
of.
but she doesn't like that. But then she watched Brightburn the other day. She's like, that's a really good movie. I was like, oh, really? Okay. It's like, I did not see you liking that, but all right.
I mean, I don't know how you marketed how people can market Lone Survivor because it's already the ending's given away. The Survivor's not even a secret because he's already on the fucking.
Well,
boat.
probably the most interesting twist on it is like when that guy helps him. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the other guy, but they don't really do much. Like I think in the book, like that guy like gets a lot more screen time and more like introspection or whatever, but he's more just like, well, that seems unprecedented.
Yeah, in the book, that guy put a lot on. That guy risks a lot in the book. Cause I read that book.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, oh, is this? This is terrible. And it was a horrendous waste of life. And then the guys that got killed trying to rescue him is like, oh, that's about $200 million worth of training that just went up in smoke there. It's like,
Oh yeah, that remind me like that was almost like exactly the part in Charlie Wilson's War where there's that dude with a machine gun in the hills and he just like shoots down like almost like $500 million of special forces troops and helicopters from the
oh,
Soviet
that was when
Union.
they got the Dashikas to them.
Yeah.
When they got the 12 millimeter, which would be the equivalent of our 50 cal.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't give them American equipment because it would be obvious where it came from. And yeah, the one guy, they called him something or another because he was on the radio. And yeah, he shot down a bunch of Hinds and killed a bunch of Spetsnaz guys. And it's like, oh yeah, that is a huge. It's like a $1,200 gun and about $200 worth of ammunition. Just like, yeah, $100 million, $20 million worth of state property just went up in smoke. Well, that book does a great job of breaking down when they wanted to give them AK-47s, but they were buying all the ammunition from Egypt. The CIA was, and they was really overpriced. And that's when Gus went and talked to the Chinese. And it's like, oh, you can get it a lot cheaper. And the guy's like, well, who cares who we buy the ammo from? And they had the accountant guy who figured out, like, one man using an AK-47 for a year. It was like $75,000 worth of ammunition in 80s money. It's like, if we can get it from the Chinese, we can get 3 times as much. And they did all this math and figured out, like, yeah, we give the Mujahideen this many AKs from China and this much ammunition from China. We get twice the bang for half the cost, and we can spend money on. That's when they started giving them the Stinger missiles.
Yeah.
Because in order to give them to them, they actually had to be bought from the government and then given to them. It was some weird mechanism because they didn't trust them with the Stingers. So the only way they'd get one back is if a new one is if they brought back the empty tube, because they knew they'd go sell them to people, and then they'd start shooting down airplanes at airports. And so they're like, well, if you want another one, bring one back. And they always brought one back because you could always kill a Hind with one of those, because they just wait in a cave and fire them, which is like, wow, I wouldn't want to be in that cave and fired a fucking missile off their shoulder, but okay. Ugh. Yeah. Charlie Wilson's War. We only talked about it 100 times on this podcast.
Yeah, we should really get Andrew to read it and do a thing, but that book is so huge.
Yeah, it's like 1,200 pages or something.
Yeah. That's a great book.
Yeah.
Because the movie doesn't do it justice, but the movie's more character based, but it just there's so much in that book that doesn't get followed in the movie.
There's side stories in that book that go on for 5 chapters.
Yeah.
You think wait a minute, what about the main story? It's all interesting, but
I still remember how much I hated that movie. I did not like that movie at all. It was, I mean, I know Tom Hanks is in it, and is it fucking Julia Roberts or somebody else?
Yeah.
plays
the memorable
Texas.
guy is the guy, my favorite actor who OD'd on heroin,
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman. He really captured a tough, unlikable character. Because Gustav Rakatos was not a nice guy. He was a horrible human being, but he was really effective.
Well, the subject matter of the movie was fine. I just didn't like the way they did it. Either the way they put it together or the acting or something.
Well, if you read the book, there's almost no way you can put a movie together out there. Then they just put together the simplest movie. It's it was like, let's give the Afghans gun. Now we're beating the Russians. Oh, we forgot to install schools. That was our biggest mistake. That's what that movie says, and that's not at all what the book's about. I mean, it's somewhat what the book's about, but the book's way too complicated and the movie's very simple.
Yeah.
Because even I don't know, that's probably the parts I enjoyed the most. Is just how do you arm the Afghans, and it's fucking 20 chapters. Because at first they're just giving them World War I weapons because they want to hide the fact that they're supplying the Afghans with weapons, so they got to give them old stuff. And then there's some guy who's I think there's a Marine or a former Marine on the squad, and he's we'll just give them the weapons that the Russians have, so that when they raid their place, they can just take the ammo and stuff, and then we can have compatible weapons between our fighters and their fighters.
Yeah, so they're trying to battle people with fucking automatic weapons and bolt action rifles.
Yeah.
Fucking, I mean, yeah, you can kill a few people, but you're not gonna have the same impact.
And then that's where they get the Israelis they call it the donkey gun, but it's basically how can we build an anti-aircraft gun and load it up on a donkey and have it climb through hills and set it up to fire an aircraft.
They wanted to give them the Swedish one, the Oerlikons.
Yeah.
But they weighed 1,500 pounds. You couldn't carry those through mountains. And they also required an elaborate setup. It was a great anti-aircraft gun, not appropriate for the Afghan war. And there was chapters about how can we do that, and they were like, Gus had always the best one-liners. It's like, what if they figure out these donkey guns are coming from Israel, and after they'd gone through this whole thing, one guy on the CIA staff was trying to stop him. He's like, look, I can have them put fucking swastikas on them if you want me to. I don't care. That, you know, you need these guns. Like, Gus is always saying shit like that. I'll have the damn Israel's put swastikas on them if it'll make you feel better, because they need this shit.
There's also like weird dichotomy with Gus because because there's like sometimes where he seems like blatantly racist because he's like using the N-word and stuff like that towards his secretary, but then he helps her get out of money trouble because you can't be in money trouble and work for the CIA.
Yeah. 'cause he's fucking
And he gave
compromised.
her a loan. But his speech to her was horrible. He was like, look, I know you're a stupid N-word, and I know what you people do with money, and I know how incompetent you are with it, but I'm going to help you out this one time because I don't want you to lose your fucking job because you're the only decent secretary I have. And that whole dialogue, like, he uses the N-word 5 times, but he does the right thing in the end.
But there's also like something like he works on because also like at that time intelligence is like kind of like the good old boys club. It's like just like third string quarterbacks from Ivy League. And they're just bringing them in. It's like, hey, let's have you sit at the desk for Pakistan. Like, what do you know about Pakistan? Not a fucking thing, but at least I work for the CIA and I look cool. And they start getting the like second and third generation people like from the areas they're looking at.
Yeah.
And that's what Gus thinks is like, because his higher ups, they just want to see like, you know, like I said, third string white quarterbacks doing their job. It's like, no, you need people from these countries who know the culture to analyze
Who have
that.
contacts there and know the geography and know the political climate, not just, hey, I know that it exists as a country and I can point out on a map. That's all the intelligence you need. Americans can't even do that.
I was in the Skull and Bones. It's like, well, you're the director of... Yeah, and how he had to work around these people. Yeah, that was funny. Oh, the other thing I remember with him, one of my favorite lines was they actually secured some Katyusha rockets from World War II. That's I think the Egyptians were a big source of weapons for the Mujahideen. And at first they were kind of doubting him, and Gus was like, I don't think anyone wants that World War II shit. And they're like, no, these are really effective against the Russian bases. He's like, okay, show me, you know, take me there and show me how this works. And then they're carrying just one Katyusha rocket, which weighs like 100 pounds, and they have the launch rail, and they just set it up on rocks, and they launched it. And he was like, Jesus Christ, that sounded like a fucking freight train flying through the air. They were firing it into a Russian military compound. He's like, okay, we'll get them more of those. I thought it was a piece of shit. My God, I can't believe they had those.
No, I'll have to read that at some point because
That's a great
I'm
book.
sure there's plenty of copies laying around. It's not
Probably it was
book that's
a
hard to
popular
find.
book, but it's a
'Cause-
huge book.
Usually I go to Half Price Books every other month now, so I mean, whatever. At some point I might get into it, but it depends on, I guess, what our reading list is.
I had that was a book on CD I bought, and I believe that thing has like 26 CDs.
Yeah.
Christ.
Let's look that up real quick. Let's see. Go to Amazon because George Cryle.
Because the other book I'm thinking of that you guys talked about is like all this declassified like secret ops stuff. Like,
Shit. A Blind Man's Bluff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book. But that's more like that's a series of stories of like kind of of submarine service. They don't really necessarily have like a through line like Charlie
Yeah.
Wilson War does, but
No, it's fine. You guys talked about it. It's not interesting. I forgot to remember the title. But no, it's just otherwise because I try to find stuff that's interesting to read. And I like military history and military history, so it's easy for me to latch on to that kind of stuff.
I give you Pentagon Wars. I think I have that somewhere around here, but that's really good.
Oh, okay.
That's also the movie, huh?
That's out of print, isn't it?
Yeah, but I have a copy of it. So.
Oh,
It's my copy that gets loaned out, and I just be like, "This book's out of print." Here you
Yeah.
go.
32 discs.
Jesus Christ.
Interestingly, the audiobook is an audible file. Unabridged is only 20 hours, but that sounds about right. It's still pretty big.
Yeah.
audio.
I can't imagine listening to that 20 hours straight, but
It's pretty dense with information. If you really want a good indication of like how the CIA operated in the 70s or in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and why covert stuff is a lot more complex than it seems, it's a great book to listen to or read or whatever. I've done both, so yeah, because it shows you why things are, when people are like, well, why don't we just do this? And it's like, this will show you the minutia of like just doing that. It's like, oh, this is not as easy as if it was all straightforward. Of course, that's what we do. But if we start giving the Mujahideen M16s and Reagan declares his support, well, we're essentially fighting a proxy war with the Soviet Union. We don't want to do that. We're too busy trying to fight proxy wars in South America, which was a big part of that was another big part of the book, was all the Iran-Contra stuff. And Gus was telling those guys, it's like, you're all going to prison. You know that, right? You're breaking, because Congress said no more funding to the Contras. And these people they're trying to funnel money through the Afghan program to the Contras. And Gus was like, no, I'm not going to prison. You guys are fucking idiots. I'm not doing this. It turns out he was right. He did not end up going to prison, but everyone else who worked around him did.
oh yeah, speaking of Iran-Contra, we watched that 3.5 hour long 2-segment Patton Oswalt on Ronald Reagan thing.
Oh, you watched it too?
Yeah,
I watched that.
It's
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, there was a lot of that stuff I didn't know.
My guardian says I can't speak. They fucking shut the lights off on him during a press conference. And just like shit where it's like, I didn't realize Nancy Reagan was such a fucking bitch. It's like, God, she was practically worse than Ronald Reagan was in the fucking 80s. God damn.
Ronald Reagan's his kids that he had with his first wife, will tell you how much they love Nancy. Dear Nancy.
How much of a bitch you were. And then, yeah.
Well, I just didn't realize what a bunch of California weirdos they all were. I mean, that's the impression I took away from it, is like, well, they're not the typical California weirdos, because you usually think they're a bunch of weird hippies. These were the right-wing version of California weirdos. It's just believe stupid stuff. And
I mean, Ronald Reagan definitely had a good taste in women, if that's what you're going. Because I like how they talk about, like, yeah, Errol Flynn got him back into the game, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of like taking advice from a guy that drinks a thing of whiskey and whips his dick out at a playground.
yeah, that's your guy.
And it was just like, yeah, getting him to get back into the game. It's like, oh yeah, raping a woman and just having multiple one-night stands and just fucking anything that moved. Sounds like Ronald Reagan. Like, but like how he was so bored.
His broadcast career was based on, his radio career was all just foolishness. It was just lies. He wasn't actually at the game. He just made it seem like he was.
Yeah,
because like, oh wow, he's really there. Everything was deception with him.
No, yeah, because I liked how, I think it was Patton Oswalt that was like, surprisingly, the applause seems the same as last week. Like, I don't know why the applause always sounds the same.
Very disciplined audience. They applaud duration and time every time.
But yeah, it was just like, yeah, he just really fucked everybody over that he could, apparently. Fucked anybody that he could, and just literally lost his marbles, and somehow people got attacked for attacking him for not being fit to be president. So
I mean, this podcast is, extremely one-sided, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a lot more faith in it than most things. So
yeah, I thought I'd really like that podcast more, and I downloaded a few more episodes, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it, guys. But in the case of Reagan, with Patton Oswalt being there, it was a really good show. And there's not enough bad stuff you can say about Ronald Reagan.
Oh, I
don't care what you say about him.
I was talking with a friend at the hobby shop last Sunday about it, but I was doing it quite loudly next to the AA door, and somebody came out and it was like, we need you to lower your voice. We can't have you talking this loud. It was like, oh, okay. And I was like, didn't even think about it. I got back inside. I'm like, well, I guess I've been yelling, bashing Ronald Reagan for a bunch of old fucking alcoholics for the last 25 minutes. So maybe that's why. But
you should stop that guy and be like, I'm talking about historical facts over here. You guys are raving and just relishing in your days of degenerate alcoholism.
Well, because there's somebody that goes to our hobby shop that was in prison for a year, and he had an addiction to actual drugs, not fucking alcohol. And so he went over there asking, if they did other counseling classes for other addictions. They're like, oh no, we deal with the real addiction, alcohol. And then everybody was like, would you suck a dude's dick for whiskey? like, I don't think so. That's not a real addiction. That's just you guys playing fucking house. I don't like.
Yeah, that you mentioned, I've never heard of that. I'd suck a dick for a pint. Never heard that phrase uttered.
Yeah. Nobody's sucking dick for alcohol. So it's like, yeah, no. But they're probably the most uppity. Like, they're smoking their fucking, like, pack of cigarettes every 5 minutes, and they're yelling and screaming at each other and shit. And it's like, curing the addiction, or whatever. It's like, then they had a sign up where it was, like, free Jimmy John subs, like, I think next weekend if you come sign up. And I was like, I'm thinking I'm gonna be an alcoholic for a weekend, go get some free sandwiches, and then cut out. Like,
I've been to 3 AA meetings in my life. Not because of, I'm seeking help for any of my problems, obviously, but I just went. I think I had a friend who I don't know if it was the court said he, you had to go to so many. It's like, would you come with me? And they were literally every time. When I first went, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with my friend because he's my friend and he's still my friend. And it's like, I'm gonna support him because the court said he had to do this or whatever. And so I went first with the idea as a storyteller, not as I'm going to tell a story, but I'm going to hear some interesting stories and remember this stuff. And no, I just heard depraved stories of lunacy and unlikely stories of madness where I saved the world and I was drunk too, and but so yeah, I've never been too impressed with it. It's like if somebody told me I had to do that and speak, I'd be lost. Or I'd start reading poetry or something, just anything. I'm going to express my alcoholism through modern dance.
He's in his tree phase.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because the friend that I was outside with, he used to be in the Marine Corps, so he was out there with me, and he was having a cigarette. He calls it his union break. And so she, unpolitely asked us to calm down and keep quiet. And so we're like, fine. And then he finished his cigarette and he goes back inside. Before he goes back inside, he's like, we're sorry for interrupting. And then goes back in the door. And I'm like, and I was like, yeah, she just like calm down and have a drink or something. And
Yeah.
then just fucking get back.
This is some whiskey, stable your nerves.
It's like,
This is also, from the outset, the weirdest rivalry. Hobby shop versus the people trying to stop being alcoholics.
Well, I mean, technically.
And then
it's
one of your groups is like, I had to get off drugs, and like they won't let me. They won't let me do it.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not a real addiction like alcohol
Yeah.
is. I mean, yes.
I mean, anything can be an addiction. It's. I think.
You know why
there's
alcohol?
there's plenty of things alcohol has ruined.
No, I mean,
You know why alcohol is such a common addiction?
yeah,
Availability and cost.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not gonna have to shoot some crack whore to get alcohol or something, or you're not gonna sell
You
your.
can.
It depends, but I mean, you can literally buy a gallon of vodka here if you're willing to drink like, what's the
most
what-
raw
what
gut
brand?
piece of shit, Hawkeye.
Hawkeye
Yeah.
vodka,
The stuff that comes in the plastic
plastic
liter
bottle vodka.
Yeah. No, the one we have here is called Kamchatka.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, and I've had some before just because it tasted like, because I like vodka, and I tried some of this on a lark, and it tasted like gin and vodka. I was like, wow, that has a strong kerosene finish. I was like, what the hell is this? Because someone was telling me all vodka was the same. I was like, no. But yeah, if you can, a liter of vodka will sustain you for at least a day. So you got a $5 a day habit there versus like a $400 a day habit. This is why there's none of the dick sucking involved with.
And also, there's like like group situations situated like, bars you can go out and drink and the social thing where it's like we're gonna go out and shoot heroin at the heroin bar.
I wonder why they don't have opium dens now. You think that'd come back? Just where the guys sit around with the big clay pipes.
Oh, there is stuff like that, but like I've only heard about it as like like just weird bodega huts or whatever where they're
Yeah.
What's the drug? Shit.
Opium.
Well, no, there's like a different one. It's like called Spice or something like that, and it's like I think it was legal and now it's not, but it was like it was like a legal high, and you had to do it through a hookah or whatever.
I just want to sit around with a bunch of Chinamen and a clay pipe on a big pillow and just smoke opium.
And then be like half an hour and the whole day's passed.
Yeah. How much time has passed? Wow. I just want to do it once. I want to do it every day.
It was like, you ever hear Dr. Drew talk about opium addiction?
Mm-mm.
He's like, it's extremely addictive. There are no side effects, but it's extremely addictive. Because apparently just opium won't fuck up your body like, it's like heroin and stuff like that. Its derivatives will fuck you up, but opium apparently won't do that too. I think
Opium is raw process. Not much added to it,
Yeah, but my problem with the whole addiction, God damn it, the whole addiction story is that everybody's addicted to something. I'm addicted to eating shitty food and spending money unwisely. I mean, that's as damaging as alcoholism is.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have
job.
SR21 insurance and haven't wrecked my car around a pole and shit, but I can't afford another car. And I can't.
I don't know, also like drinking's like a weird like rite of passage in America, where like in other countries it's like it's what you do.
Yeah.
It's not like a thing. It's not something like, oh, you can't drink, and like as if you finagle your way, like how much alcohol is that? Like high school parties, and I've never been to a high school party, but I know they exist, and underage people are drinking alcohol in droves, and
Well, especially in like our communities where it's more of a rule, because that's the only thing to fucking do.
yeah.
Is have unprotected sex, do drugs, and have alcohol. That's really the only thing to do.
I never did a lot of drugs, and God forbid I ever had sex in high school. That was totally out of the question, but did a lot of drinking. But there wasn't much, it didn't interfere with anything. I didn't go drive my truck afterwards. I just stayed at the guy's house and got drunk.
But also, there's a lot of the weird stuff for like 70s and 80s movies where, because like I forget what, like when the law changed, but it used to basically be like 18 you could drink.
Yeah.
And then because that's why all like 70s and 80s movies, it's always like high school and it's all about drinking and getting drunk and partying, and that stuff was also extremely exaggerated as like a positive thing. And then people like, we need to make this a reality.
Well, I like how somebody at the shop was crying out because now Iowa doesn't have 18-year-old can smoke anymore. It's 21 now.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, we feel really bad for these 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds that can't smoke anymore. And it's like, who gives a flying fuck? It's like, you think that'll make the black market go up? And it's like, there's a black market for cigarettes? Like, I'm sure there is, but it's like, I think you're overthinking this.
It's going to be at army bases now.
Yeah.
Most people that are 18 or whatever probably can't afford to smoke anymore. What is it, like $10 a pack?
Yeah. Well, it's like I don't know. It's like smoking like has to be just completely supported by the military, because I almost know like nobody who smoked, nobody who like chewed and stuff like that. You go in the military, it's like a third of them smoke and chew and vape and do plugs and do
yeah, because all the younger guys that even smoke, like half of them were in the military or dip, because we have multiple guys that do both. They smoke and dip.
Yep.
And then everybody else is old enough that was part of their generation. So that's literally, there's only one younger guy that doesn't, and I don't know why the fuck he smokes. He lives at home with his parents and he doesn't actually have a real job. He works part-time at the hobby shop 20 hours a week. I don't know how he affords cigarettes.
sucking dick.
Yeah, that must be something to suck dick for. Alcohol, still no. Cigarettes, yes.
It's that Drake. It's the Drake meme. Like, no alcohol, cigarettes, and dick.
I'll you do anything you want to me. Just buy me a carton of cigarettes.
But yeah, there was a meme about like it's like It's like I'm old enough to vote and go die for my country, but I can't buy cigarettes.
Boo. Well, now they want everything to be 21 now, supposedly, is what they're talking about transitioning to.
Yeah,
Between voting, drinking, whatever, it's all 21 now.
Driving, they've looked at that. Like, well, they want to raise that to here 19 or something.
I don't know if driving necessarily needs to go that route, because as long as you keep all the shitty part out of it. Like, I guess I haven't seen stats recently for how many people in accidents under 21 for people that are driving on the roads.
My
The
son's
driver fatality rate keeps going up every year, so.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I guess I knew it was
yeah.
dangerous.
What are the things that car wrecks kill? Like, I don't know. It's like car wrecks kill more Americans than other things you think would kill Americans.
I know
way more people die in car wrecks than shootings. More people have car wrecks than die of heart attacks. It's crazy, and it's lower. It's at the same rate. Well, no, it's actually physically less people die now than do in the 1950s, even though our population's almost double because cars are safer. But as far as like the vehicle crashes, like it's really high. That's because everyone's out of control and everyone's like Facebooking and driving down the freeway and
while making a salad and shaving your legs.
Yeah, so many things.
I fucked up. I have to do this all at once.
Google, drive my car.
Well, because like BMW, like a month ago, had a headline in the newspapers because somebody found out they programmed their self-driving car AI to choose the life of the driver over the life of anybody on the side of the road. So if there's like a pedestrian, it'll kill the pedestrian to save the driver.
I would immediately buy a BMW then, because they made the right choice as far as I'm concerned as a customer of their cars.
No, I know. I mean, it makes sense.
The BMW just eats homeless people.
Is the pedestrian going to buy a BMW? No, but will that person buy a BMW again? Yes.
I'm a loyal customer.
So technically,
nobody who drives a BMW would be hit by a BMW.
Just wear the BMW pennant on your person when you're not in the car.
If you have the key fob in your pocket, it'll swerve to hit a nun.
Hit that Ford piece of shit over there. Like, go.
Hell, I want the car to do what was the Hellfire missiles they've come out with now for the drone strikes, where they don't even have explosives in them. They just deploy blades at the last second.
Oh,
Jesus.
So you can kill one.
I thought you were going to say it was just pure kinetic energy, just like a football to the head with a missile.
That would work too. Some of these have blades that pop out, supposedly.
Just a ping and a guy split in half and there's a missile sitting there.
You don't even need, all you need is a guidance system and just some concrete in the warhead. Because if you get hit by a missile at 500 miles an hour, you're dead. You're not wearing some jacket where you just get thrown to the ground. And you just push it. Fuck you, drone. What's going to happen?
Well, because shit, the last drone strike that tried to kill a fucking a Taliban leader fucking killed 60 civilians the other day. So, I think that
that actually just kind of happens all the time.
No, I know, but it doesn't get publicized a lot anymore because
no one cares.
Well, I mean, even because I don't know what Trump's drone strike numbers are compared to Obama's. Because I know Obama's are fucking huge.
Yeah, yeah. Everything you think Bush did, like Obama did it like 5 times as well.
Yeah, he deported more people. He did more drone strikes, and yeah.
Well, mostly I'm just thinking of not necessarily like, hey, let's start another war, but it's mostly like in that Rise and Kill First book. It's like here's the targeted killings that Bush did. It was like 36, and Obama 858. Jesus fucking Christ!
And he has to sign a piece of paper
every
to
time
authorize that every time. So he's like, "Well, what are we doing today? Oh, we got some papers for. Oh, more death warrants."
Well, because I like how when they were trying to explain this whole thing with Trump assassinating a general from Iran thing, where it's like, well, they presented so many options, they thought this would be the most unlikely one since it was so extreme. And that's what everybody went with for their joke on late night television and shit, was like, why would you give Trump an extreme option and expect him not to pick it? I mean, that's basically the option you think he'd go for. Because
I was briefing that moron. I'd be like, well, we can send him Winnie the Pooh chocolate. Or we could send him a bottle of Jack Daniels, which would be really insulting because he's Islamic. And Trump would go for that, you know. And it's, yeah, I would not present Trump with any hard option shit at all. It's like, well, we can give him $100 million. Oh, what would we do with that? Well, it would undermine their country because it would create a lot of greed and selfishness. You're familiar with the concept, right? There we go.
he really wants you to do an no security book tour.
Yeah.
Throughout Iran.
Yeah.
Just
once you hear stories about General Mattis, it's like, we'll get right on it, sir. It's like, we're not fucking doing that.
He just laughs with the people in the elevator. What a fucking cretin.
But now you have the former CEO of Boeing. It's like, of course he's gonna put as many people in harm's way as he can.
Yeah.
But no, it's fucking ludicrous how many times people talk about, like, especially shit like this where it's like, oh yeah, Trump ordered this and that basically led to a fucking passenger jet being downed because of all this.
You know what? We're not talking about the impeachment hearing, so I think your job done, I'm guessing.
Yeah. We don't hear about that. The Pelosi's doing what? Who?
Well, you like how fucking Mitch McConnell came out and made a speech in front of the Senate where he was like, I don't know why they're dragging their feet on this. This is a perfectly fair and balanced trial. And it's like, yeah, that's why she's holding it up, is because she doesn't want to fucking, because they went on record many times between Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Fucking hell. Basically saying it's like, yeah, we'll do whatever the president wants us to do, and we're basically like bribed witnesses, or bribed jurors, sorry.
Well, when's he give the State of the Union?
Isn't it this week?
I don't know.
Yeah, because I heard that there was talk circulating around the Senate. It's like, we want to have him cleared of the impeachment thing before the State of the Union. So that means they're just going to fast track it as soon as she sends that over. It's like, cleared of all wrongdoing. Can't prove that anything's wrong.
Yeah, because they're still going with the whole narrative of like, oh yeah, it's bullshit, and they're just coming up with crap out of their ass. And it's like, yeah, that's what all these emails, phone calls, and witnesses have been saying, is that Trump definitely didn't try and do
they're defending the tax cuts is all they're doing. They don't like Trump. They probably hate Trump more than they hate the Democrats at this point because he's making them look worse. But yeah, they'll do anything they can. Keep him around. And he'll probably win the next election. Fuck, you know.
So, Roma, catch it.
Check it. If you want to see how we're all going to be living after the next 4 years of Trump, watch Roma.
We're all hugging and crying on a beach.
Yep.
While Trump bombs tornadoes and kills foreign leaders with just a whim.
All right. Well, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.
No more gas.